The Mind Over Chatter podcast. The Mind Over Chatter podcast with Oz and Hall. The Mind Over podcast. The Mind Over Chatter podcast with Oz and Hog.
Okay, here we are again for another episode of Mind Over Chatter. I don't want to do any big intro today, just to give you an idea of what this podcast is about. It's about life, it's about successes and failures, it's about mental health, and it's about three people sitting here on these lovely lounges in this lovely setting created by our producer Michael. We're three people here to talk about all these things and just, as they say, shoot the shit, which is have a great conversation about whatever comes up. So myself, Oz, with you, and my good man Andrew.
Hey guys,
how you doing, mate? You all right?
I'm doing all right. You?
Yeah. Okay. Can I say okay?
Why can't you say okay?
No, I'm asking if, normally I'm supposed to say, I'm good, but sometimes I just don't feel like it.
No, sometimes I don't feel like it either. And this is a podcast about being real, so yeah. If you're not feeling great,
I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm a bit pissed off with myself.
It's been a long day, eh?
It's been a long day. That's not why I'm pissed off with myself, but it's been a long day.
Go for it, shoot.
No, my diet, man, I've fallen off the rails with it, and it's fucking pissing me off. So, a couple of years ago, I'd lost a lot of weight, right? I lost 35 kilos. And unfortunately, 5 months ago, my sister passed away. And since then, I found it a little bit more difficult to control everything. I don't know if I got to this stage where I just said, life is short, fuck it, do what I want. Which is not really what I want to do, because I still want to lose weight and be healthy.
Yeah, but then the question I have to ask is, how does the unhealthy eating make you feel about yourself, or make you feel
mixed, right?
Make you feel during your day?
It's sort of mixed. It's very, very good. It's a chemical rush when I'm eating it, and then obviously afterwards I feel like shit and regret and all that sort of stuff.
I pass through the same stuff.
In what sense?
So my kids at home, there's always some kind of sweets or chocolates. The main thing for me is chocolate kind of thing. And if there's chocolate at home, sometimes the kids have to hide it. Yeah. It's that bad.
Yeah. That's how strong the addiction is for you.
Yeah.
Would you call it an addiction? Because in my case, I call what I have a food addiction.
I call it, it's possibly an addiction, but I use the excuse of, but I train, so it's okay. And the reality is, it's not about me putting on weight. It's just about the feeling in general. Why can't I be strong enough? So now I've this morning, actually, I wrote it on, we've got a kitchen where we can kind of write on the cupboards and stuff.
Yeah, I've seen it, man. Yeah. I think you explained it in a previous episode as well.
No, I don't think so.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, well, explain it then.
Yeah, so we've got black frosted glass in a portion of the kitchen where we use chalk markers.
It's nice. It's
right?
cool.
Yeah, I wanted it exactly so that the bottom half is for where the kids can write their stuff, and we write whatever and I basically write some motivational stuff. That things that impact me, and I try to impact my partner as well. But today I wrote Mission Turtle. And
what does that mean?
So Mission Turtle.
Not Mission Turtle Head.
No. Mission Turtle is basically the idea of abs.
Okay.
So I wrote that on
the shell look. Yeah,
I wrote that on the fridge, and we'll see how it goes. I haven't been home since I wrote it, so.
Okay. Did you do anything in the meantime to start Mission Turtle, or?
No.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Well, good luck with that. I told you that, I see myself as a food addict, and I don't say that lightly. I don't use the word addiction lightly, but I know it's an addiction because for a great amount of the time, I can't control it. It's I have to do it. Even I'm sitting there telling myself, no, don't do it, still do it. So the urge is so strong. Do you have anything in your life that's sort of that controlling on you?
Yeah, I'd probably go back to the chocolate thing.
Yeah, you really find yourself you can't.
Yeah.
And but then how much do you consume?
I can, if I'm watching I could consume a whole bag of M&Ms.
That's not drastic, is it? Is it drastic?
It's pretty drastic when you do it every 2 days.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess so.
But you do intermittent fasting, don't you?
I do intermittent fasting. Yeah, I do.
And to be able, and you do it successfully, and to be able to do it successfully, you have to be quite control of.
Yeah, my problem is
your
not.
ages.
My problem is not. I can stay without eating for long periods of time. It doesn't bother me. For example, if I eat my dinner at 7 o'clock, I can hang on till lunch the next day, 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. No problem. 16, 17, 18 hours.
But then
fasting.
you find yourself consistently thinking about it.
No,
because
not really.
That's what used to happen to me.
No, I don't. I mean, it also depends on my situation, right? If I'm busy at work, definitely won't think about it. If I'm at home sitting on the couch watching TV, then probably yes, I'll be like, I'm hungry, I need to go see what's in the cupboards and that sort of thing. So
how important, I mean, not only for the whole eating thing, but sort of for the trajectory of your day, how important is it for you to get out of bed and like hit the ground running?
Well, it's very important. I mean, on the days that I don't do it, I feel a massive difference, right? So, for example, this morning, my alarm went off at 4:45. Oh. I was at the gym by 5:10.
Nice. How's that going?
Good. I mean, easy right now. I'm not killing myself because I know exactly how I get. I will go fucking full on, have an injury, and then have to spend 3 weeks away from the gym.
You miss the times when you used to box. I remember you.
I do, yeah. I miss it a lot. But I went through when I had stopped boxing, which was towards the end of last year. I was having some serious problems with my back. Okay. I was in pain all the time, and I had done. I know it sort of came to light after I'd done a particularly intense boxing session. I was in a really good place physically at that time. I was really fit. My boxing was going really, really well, and I really pushed hard on this one session. And near the end of it, you get that feeling when you just feel something goes. I felt something go. And it didn't happen right then where the injury was like, oh, this is bad. Over the days coming, it got worse and worse and worse. And that's when I realized. So it is, I hope I can get back to it one day. But I for now, I just have to limit the amount of, because it's pretty intense movement. I mean, from side to side, your whole body is in motion. And when you're really pushing the punches out, sometimes you can go a bit too far, especially if you're tired and then your technique goes out the window. And that's when injury comes about. So
I agree.
I was doing like 10 rounds of 3 minutes boxing. It's pretty intense. One round of 3 minutes is intense. Absolutely. When you're throwing 200 punches around, or something like that. So I miss it. I hope I get back to it. But I have to, the clear thing is, and for all of my exercise, for all of my general well-being, I just have to lose weight. I'm too heavy, it's taxing on my body.
So going back to the intermittent fasting, right? Yeah. What are the main benefits apart from the whole weight loss idea, right? What other benefits do you find from this practice?
First and foremost, when you're not eating, you always feel a bit fresher, a bit sharper. Do you notice that?
Yeah, absolutely.
When you everyone who listens to this podcast will know, when you have a big meal afterwards, you feel like a lethargic piece of shit.
Yeah.
You can't function properly. You feel heavier. Your joints start to flare up. So that's the main benefit of it, is the fact that, I feel better in body and mind the longer I go on. And then, of course, you get to a stage where you're starving and it sort of turns the other way. But during that 16, 17, 18 hours, I feel predominantly great. But the whole thing why people intermittent fast is because during the first 12 hours after you eat, your body is fully working on digesting that food, right?
Yeah.
So your body is working hard on just digesting the food, creating it into energy, and it's storing its fats and all the things that it does. So your body is constantly working. After that 12 hours, the body has nothing to do. So it starts looking for things to repair. So the body then starts repairing itself. That's what the body does.
Yeah.
And that's why those hours beyond the 12 that you're fasting, your body starts to repair itself. In fact, people who have fasted for days on end have repaired some pretty serious illnesses. And there's been a lot of reports of people who do intermittent fasting, and it's really helped with their overall well-being and some serious illnesses as well.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's going to cure whatever you have, but
exactly.
It helps.
For whoever's listening or watching, don't take us as the doctors who are going to fix your life, because this is just stuff that we know.
It's all right. We have a disclaimer that goes at the end of the show. Right?
Though there is research that says that a calorie restriction or calorie restricted diet, there are benefits towards mental health aging,
Uh,
right? So
it keeps you young, you mean?
it helps it helps brain function into your later years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So things like dementia and all that
Exactly.
sort of stuff.
Exactly.
Okay.
It so basically it says that when you over calorize whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right? You get certain neuronal inflammation, right? And through the restriction, you reduce that, and obviously you're trying to avoid that inflammation.
Well, if we look at the overall picture of my life, then I'm fucked. But at least I'm trying to do good thing. As I said, I'm moaning a bit because I've just not been. I'm not. You can see this. I'm not happy with the way I'm looking at the moment.
Yeah.
I need to get back on track. But today is day one. I say that a lot of times, but maybe one day I'll get to day 2 and day 5.
Maybe
day
what
10.
would be good for you is have an accountability buddy, and maybe I could be
Like
just
you,
that.
yeah. How does that work?
I think you need to send me daily photos.
Of what, my food and all this sort of stuff?
Apart the chat. So with certain athletes, we try to who struggle with weight issues. Obviously, it's not me on my own. It's usually me and the physiotherapist and the nutritionist.
Yeah.
Where we are their accountability buddies, and they report to us daily about what they're eating and stuff like that, where they're at that moment, how they're feeling. So then that's where I come in as well.
Yeah.
So it's really good to have somebody there to be able to bounce off.
I think it's a good idea. I think that the biggest issue for me is the fact that where does this all come from? Why do I do it, right? I haven't resolved whatever the problem is behind the scenes, i.e. in my subconscious, that is triggering me to do this behavior, right? I think that's the biggest issue because, I speak with my therapist and she says, and I told her, I really want to go on this diet. I'm so frustrated. And she says, calm down. You can't do it from a place of where you are now. You won't be successful. You have to be in a good place. That's not going to stop me trying right now. I'm still not in the best place. I've got a lot of work to do. But I need to resolve a lot of things before I can get on that path. The time that I lost all the weight before was in the best time I've been mentally for 30 years. And I lost, 35 kilos, right? So it's difficult. I had a pretty rough ride the past 6-8 months. Well, the past year, really, year and a half. A lot of not so nice things happened. A lot of deaths in the family and stuff like that. So it was a pretty tough time, but we keep working, we keep progressing, we keep moving forward, we keep taking one step at a time, one day at a time, and keep trying your best to just do the right things.
And what's amazing about your situation is that through all the obstacles that you face, all the troubles that you've been through, you're still here trying to create this podcast and ultimately trying to make people's lives better in some way or another. So
absolutely.
Good on, man.
Thank you, man. I will always say this. People ask me, what is your best quality? We can go with character, we can go with whatever sense of humor, we can go with a lot of things. But I always say my best character, my best quality is I never give up.
Yeah.
And I'm stubborn that way. Till the day I die, I will keep trying to get to my ideal weight. Whether it happens or not, we'll see. But I'll keep trying.
I see that never give up desire. It's something that I feel about myself as well.
Yeah.
In some way or another, obviously not in the same aspects, but I still have that kind of never give up attitude.
That's a good thing to have, man.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you a question actually as well. Completely unrelated, but I've always wondered about this because I know you're not really a football fan in the sense that you don't follow a club or you don't follow a team. You don't watch a lot of football in terms of television football, Premier League or whatever. How does a guy like yourself who has I assume 15-year professional career, 15 to 20-year professional career, how does a person dedicate their whole life to football but then in reality not be a huge fan of football?
I mean, when I was younger, in my early days, and literally the motivation for me to play was so intrinsic kind of thing. All I loved was the game, and more than the game, it was the goalkeepers. I don't know if you remember, like in the let's say the early 2000s, there were people like Pagliuca and Peruzzi. For me, that was everything. The kits they wore, the gloves, the shoes. For me, that was the game,
Yeah.
But as time went by, and it became my job, and then I had to fend for my kids, and you get kind of caught up with all the dirty politics inside the game. Honestly, I fell out of love.
Okay.
And now I work inside the game. I work with athletes, both on and off the pitch. I love that side of it. But for me to, I spend a lot of time with them. But for me to actually go home and be with my family and switch on the TV and watch football again, I prefer not to.
Thank you for that. It's an honest answer, and I appreciate it. But there was a time when you were in love with football.
Yeah, there was a time.
Okay, all right, good.
Back in the Roberto Baggio days.
He was a great player.
Amazing.
I mean,
the 94 World Cup is the World Cup that I remember most till this day. It's like etched in my brain. And I can tell you probably minute by minute all the games that the Italians played.
Wow.
Zola getting sent off. You remember these get really
I don't. But what I remember is the reason that I started watching Italian football in the first place, because when I first came to Malta, that was the only thing you could watch, right? Italian football. And the first thing that I fell in love with was Sampdoria, and it was because of Baggio. Yeah.
Because of Baggio?
Wasn't he at Sampdoria?
Fiorentina. I don't think he was at...
Am I thinking of someone else? Who was at Sampdoria then? There was a player at Sampdoria.
Signori, maybe. No, Signori.
No. Mancini. Wasn't it Mancini? Mancini. There you go.
It's true.
Mancini was a what?
At Sampdoria, yes.
At Sampdoria, right? So he was the reason completely off the Roberto. But Roberto Baggio was great. One of the greatest Italian players, for sure. Now, we usually ask ourselves, we have, what do we have? Our happy and our angry moment of the past, period of time. You want to go?
No, I mean, I'll start with my good one, because it's really simple this week. I mean, Sunday, just spend the whole day at home.
Nice.
Kids, I had been looking for that one day to do nearly nothing.
Oh, that's great.
And then the thing that annoys me most, I even put out a social media post that got quite a lot of attention. Basically, the fact that we live in a country where everything that goes on is to do with either red or blue, which is very much like like football teams.
Yep.
And the lack of ability that we have to kind of that individuals have to think for themselves, like real critical thinking. And I just came across a few comments on social media, and then I had a bit of an outburst myself, and it bloody annoys me.
It's not really democracy, is it, when you just follow something blindly? I mean, am I wrong?
It's not thinking.
I mean, but it's not a democratic solution if you're just supporting it for the sake of supporting it without trying to understand values and morals. And I don't know, I might be wrong. I don't know politics.
But I find that so many, especially people in our country, find that they don't need to reason. They don't need to sit back and critically analyze things, because a lot of them are from the perspective of, listen, I will back this guy because I know that if I back this guy, I'm going to succeed in one way or another. So what I need to do is close my eyes and back this guy.
Sure.
And ultimately, when you look at the situation like that, I don't see a person who lives a free life. I see a person who's indebted to others, and just my thoughts, basically.
Makes a point. Should I get into mine?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I'll start with my angry moment, because my happy moment will cheer me up after my angry moment, okay? So, my daughter, love her to bits, but she made me fucking furious this week, to the point where I was envisaging choking her out. Now, people are going to look at me and say, well, how bad is it? But I honestly would have wanted to kill her in that moment, because we called her down for dinner. She took a long time to come down. And then when she came down, she was still on her phone. And I told her, put down your phone. And as soon as I said that, she snapped at me big time and went on this rant big time. And I saw red. I lost it. And I unloaded on her big time. That made me furious. Just there's such a lack of respect. I was brought up in a different time where you had to respect your elders. I still respect my elders till today. I think it's a great value to hold. And I think most of the kids and teenagers and even adolescents today don't have it.
No.
Pisses me off, man. It really pisses me off. So I'll cheer myself up now. And I don't know when this episode will be released, but it doesn't matter. I can still mention that my happy moment recently was Liverpool 7, Manchester United 0. Enough said. Made me happy, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm moving forward. We need to bring it up when our guest is here because
yes, because our guest today is a huge Man United fan. In fact, we can transition to that right now. He's going to be here just in a few moments. Our guest today is, well, he's known for being a philanthropist the most, a bit of a crazy but good guy. I'm sure he's got a lot of stories to tell. You might have heard of the Kilimanjaro Challenge. He's a big man behind all that, the big man behind all of that. Our guest today is Keith Marshall, and we're going to talk to him in just a moment.
The Mind Over Chatter podcast with Oz and Hog.
Keith bloody Marshall.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Oh, man. How you doing, man?
Oh, Miss my Oz. I was thinking about this morning, actually. We've been around the block, man, huh?
We've been around a few blocks.
We're going to speak about our drinking competition at Montrose.
Listen.
And we can speak about Montrose now over here because it doesn't exist anymore.
I'm going to rely heavily on your memory because mine sucks.
Oh my God.
So you're going to have to tell some stories.
Okay,
right?
I will.
All right, good.
I'll do my level best.
I'm sure you will.
Hoggy!
Hi, Keith. Welcome. All right, buddy. I kind of remember Montrose, but I don't remember you there.
I
remember you at Ryan's.
Those were Montrose were glory days. I just started
the best.
I just started organizing parties. And in life, whenever something's fresh, you know it's all effervescent.
Yeah.
So we would start tanking up at Montrose.
It's the best.
That's where the competition set in, Hog.
I'm sure I won the competition anyway. I don't know.
No. But
you're telling me no.
Need we elaborate over here?
We're going to do that. We can.
I remember. Actually, we were discussing this once on one of your programs with Jay. And he used an expression which went along the lines of a vomit pizza or something like that. Or a concrete pizza.
Right, okay.
Because I said, listen, Oz, I will absolutely drink you under the table.
Right.
And we started with these shooters on beers, beers, 1, 2, and you wouldn't let it go. You had to beat me.
And did I though?
No, it never happened.
What do you mean it never happened?
It never happened. But the thing is, in your defense, you turned up quite wasted already.
Oh, right.
So that was the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back.
And what ended the competition? Me.
You splurged everywhere.
Wow. Chunder Thunder. That probably wasn't the first or the last time.
That was 1994, man.
Wow.
30 years ago.
Wow. That's when I remember. I remember. I know
you had just come back, I think, maybe from
I came back from Australia in 92.
There you go.
And we would have been hanging out in 94 for sure. And I probably was already started DJing.
You were already DJing, of course, and that's probably that was our first port of call.
I must have done a few New Years with you, right?
For sure, I think so,
right?
But the thing is, as you remember, you might remember, we had the commercial crowd.
Yeah.
You know, and so you need someone who's really powerful on MC.
Yeah.
You can't just have someone who spins those tunes and just runs dead on the crowd.
I remember one that we did it was at where was the convention? In Nashar. What's it called, that place? What is it?
The trade fairs.
You did a big one at the trade fair, and the DJ stand was like 20 meters in the air.
It was a turret, man.
Oh my God, I was shitting myself. Huh?
It was, that was Space 1999.
Wow, yeah.
That was Space, and we actually encased that place in silver foil.
Wow.
It was like 3 miles of... Can you imagine just cladding a place in silver foil? But that was the level of attention and the level of input we'd put into a party.
Did you make any profit?
Hardly anything, actually. But you know what?
Yeah.
And that's when you realize how important it is doing something you love doing.
Yeah.
You didn't care about the profit.
No.
As long as people left and you were a god on the night,
that's it.
You know, you're going to be shit slammed for the following week because you threw a shit party. Yeah. That's enough. You know?
That's it.
Yeah.
You were MCing before you came to Malta?
No. I never thought of DJing, MCing, radio or nothing before I got here. And then I had wound up with a really good bunch of friends who were all in fucking radio. You know, Johnny, Colin Fitz, there was Matthew Kalamata back in the day who was on radio. Who else was there? A few others anyway at the time. And, you know, they all said, listen, dude, your voice, your character, you got to be on radio. And I'm like, ziff, piss off. There's no way. Couldn't see it. And then they kept bugging me about it over the course of like 6 months to a year. And then they bugged me so much, I said, let me just try it. And I started training, and I give props always to the legendary, late, great Terry Ferrugia, who is responsible not just for me, but a lot of the talent, the local radio talent here in Malta. Terry trained me for about a month, and he just said, mate, you're ready. On air you go. And I started doing Saturday and Sunday night from, I think it was 8 till 10.
You were at Island Sound right in the beginning.
Sound
I
Radio.
remember you.
1995 is when I started.
And you were doing these on your own?
Yeah, solo show. I did a solo show for like the first, must have been the first 15 years.
I was going to say 10 years.
10, 12 years,
Yeah.
And then I jumped into a tandem with Jay when we were at the when we moved to XFM.
And tandems were unknown.
It was very
It was unknown. It was completely virgin territory.
But then how much easier was it for you to actually go ahead with the show, knowing that like you're two of you, not just one?
It's a completely different type of show, right? So when you're doing it by yourself, you're more of a presenter, right? Because you're one-on-one with the listener. So you have to, and there are certain sort of mechanics that you have to go through. There's a certain structure of the show that you have to go through. You've got your songs, you've got your ad breaks. One person can't talk to himself for 10 minutes. It just sounds stupid. So you pick a topic, you deliver the topic, you make it funny, you move on to the next song. And you have that sort of structure of the show. Very, very different. When you're in a tandem show, it's much more like this. You're having a conversation. It depends on the tandem, right? Jay and I were fortunate enough that we could...
But the thing is, synergism is so important.
Is that a word? Synergism?
Synergism.
Jism. It sounds...
It sounds sexual.
It has to be you to take that.
Me?
That part of the word.
Synergism.
No, but you really need to be able to interact together, and pave your way into a good show.
Yeah.
Because I've seen people, and they just don't do it.
You can't throw two people together and expect it to happen. Jay and I had been working together on radio for 10 years together before we did a tandem show. So he was doing his show, I was doing my show. We were always together in between. We understood each other's styles. We knew each other's characters. We're both male pigs, if I put it that way. We're both, that kind of persona in terms of guys, talking about sports and women and all sorts of things. So we're very similar, and then we just knew how to flow with each other. And it's
but
important.
even if you look at, because I don't know you guys now for years and years and years, standing alone, you're already after yesterday's result, because I know it's going to come up in one time. So I really don't want to start dissing out compliments.
Okay,
but standing in your own right, you two guys, you already make magic as individuals.
Yeah.
So coming together, it's I really believe that you were brilliant.
Thank you, man.
Brilliant.
So do I.
Brilliant.
Thank you. It's something. My persona is I find it difficult to take on these compliments. Sometimes I just don't. But it's nice, very, very nice to hear. I know that we had something special. I don't think there's ever been a show, and I'm not trying to be egotistical here. This is just purely based on feedback. I don't think there's been a show that people have actually said, wow, this is something I can listen to all day long, and the time just passes in an instant. That's the feedback we got, and it's because of the fact that we just knew how to flow, and we just were natural. It was two guys behind a mic just talking shit.
But so much interesting stuff would come forward as well.
Yeah,
I would say, how the fuck would Jeff check this out? Is this staged? Would they actually have planned, groomed the conversation such that they came out with this word? That there's actually a second meaning to this word. Boom, and you drop a bombshell. How? You want to know an honest truth, a behind the scenes truth? Jay and I never prepared a fucking thing in pretty much our whole time together. Which makes it even more special.
We would know maybe one or two topics we wanted to touch upon, but we never wrote a script. It was just
there was a particular time when you guys got like a load of backlash.
Once or twice.
How do you take it?
I'm a bit defensive, so I don't take it too well. Jay can sort of brush it off pretty quickly. He's got a good character in that way. He can just let things go, which is important. It's going to happen, It does happen. You can't please everyone, especially with our style. You're always going to piss somebody off. Yeah. So it happened a few times, but to be honest, very rarely. And I feel quite fortunate that was the case. Maybe it was just, I don't know.
I mean, I used to follow a show on a very, very religiously, if you will. I can't ever remember you being I mean, okay, there would be that tongue-in-cheek situation, blah, 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 blah. We all know it.
Yeah.
But it adds spice, you know, it carries up a situation.
Yeah.
There was never ever a situation where you would actually be, I don't know, like a Chris Rock
Yeah.
on the situation.
Radio, you can't do that, obviously. There's a line, and you know you can't cross the line because there will be, obviously, repercussions, right?
Yeah.
The couple of times that it happens, like, for example, once, I don't know, tongue-in-cheekly, I mentioned blood diamonds. And some listener wrote in this email to the management, and I think they sent it to the Broadcasting Authority, and there was this whole investigation. And this was around the time of the movie. What was it called? What was the movie called? Blood Diamonds, right? And someone,
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Leo, and someone got savagely offended by the fact that I mentioned blood diamonds.
Yes, but you know what? Look, big picture made very small. We're living in a situation where everyone is so triggered about every fucking subject.
But hold on. Obviously, it's happening more today. I see it over the past, I don't know, 5, 6, maybe even 10 years. We're talking, how long ago?
Blood Diamond must have been close on 20 now.
But I think this would have been about...
We're talking some 20 years ago.
15 maybe. But let me tell you, it's been... But this has been growing to hand. It's growing, and it's got to the point where you have to be so careful with every word that you utter.
That would have been about 15 years ago.
I mean, this week I was... Can I say? I don't know if I can say
You can
this
say
anyway.
whatever you want, man.
There was Sam Smith and that controversy, the Fisher them. You know, I can take fisherman, fisherwoman, but Fisher them. You know, because the pronoun can't actually identify the sexuality of the person. Oh my God, man, where the fuck are we going?
Absolutely.
Too many people have too much time on their hands.
Yeah. I give I know it's an important subject. I give it little importance because I just think every person should be that person, and there shouldn't be a big deal about anything.
Exactly. Why
we don't need to talk about it. Let's not talk about it.
It's not even worth talking about. Do what you want, where you want, with who you want, and just move on.
The problem is that they want to educate the ignorant, right? Because there are still a lot of ignorant people that
And you think that this is going to educate anyone? Seriously?
No.
Fish at them? Can you imagine a child?
But don't you think it's a bit like get off your high horse kind of thing?
In what sense?
As in, stop looking down and trying to educate everybody and just let people be. I don't know if you saw the interview with Piers Morgan where he says that, listen, from now on I want to be identified as a fluffy penguin, something like that.
You know what?
Yeah.
Ultimately, he has the right to do so.
Absolutely.
So if we're going to use this yardstick, it's never ending. It's completely open-ended.
Yeah.
But like you said, Oz, let everyone be him, her, they, it, whatever. But don't shove it down other people's throats.
I agree with that. And we should just stop fucking judging everything and everyone.
We're so
Stop
judgmental.
judging. Jesus Christ, man. It's everyone just lives to judge.
Having said that, in the defense, well, I'm not going to defend the situation because I don't feel like. But we live in a micro society, and everyone lives con il timore di Dio. And, oh my God, someone's going to have an opinion about me. Yeah. You're going to be judged anyway by everyone. Yeah. You know, when I got to the Inktober, oh my God, my mother was going mad.
Yeah.
People are going to judge you anyway. You know, so move on, do your thing. Yeah. Hopefully your thing is beneficial to society. And that ultimately is where it stops. Yeah. You know?
But people also, I think people should just live their lives and stop worrying about what other people think I live in a bubble.
You get to the end of your life, say, oh my God, man, I've lived so encapsulated and so captivated by the fear of being judged that I existed. I didn't really live.
I've wasted so much time under this kind of umbrella.
Thinking that people, like giving yourself so much importance as well.
But you know,
don't care about.
I was talking to this about this with someone I came across today. In fact, whatever. So a client of mine. Obviously, I can't mention.
Say it. Go on. Say it.
Can't mention who he is. But really simply, you know, past ideas. So individuals walking into, say, a wedding or some kind of function, we believe that all eyes are on us. That is because we are so kind of up in our own shit, when everyone else is up in their own shit and worried about themselves and so focused on themselves that the reality is that, listen, just be kind of thing.
What created this? What do you think what created? Come on, we know what created it.
Oh, it's social media all the way.
Yeah, social media.
The thing is, something is propagated so fast in this day. I mean, can you imagine the crazy shit we did in our time? You know, and luckily,
on camera.
luckily, this stuff didn't exist.
Yeah.
But you know what? Then we were. I think we might have been a bit more grounded, saying, "Listen, you know what? Whatever."
Yeah.
I don't get many people our age saying, "You know, I'm really scared about the outcome of this." We do things, and that's it.
I think when you reach a certain age as well, you start to give a less of a shit.
Exactly.
But I think that's also true to the point.
And then, sorry, over there. And then I see that, especially in Malta, we come from a country who we're very kind of averse to risk. So young people,
for sure.
So if we risk and we fail, and then we're a failure, and everyone's talking about us.
And that's something we need to expand upon, and then throughout the course of this conversation.
And that keeps us so small.
Going forth or restraining oneself for fear of failure. And it's the bane which very often divides success and failure.
Yeah.
Now, one has to define where your yardstick is vis-a-vis success and failure.
Yeah.
No,
but within the context of what I do, for example.
And when you say failure, people are not afraid of failure. They're afraid of what other people are going to think about their failure.
Being judged on, oh my God, you know, he tried that, she tried that, and they failed.
As a former football player, looking back, how much better would my career have been if I had a better understanding of a relationship with fear and failure?
Of course.
So so say I used to play for Valletta, right? I used to make a mistake, and for me that was ridiculously heavy on my life, right?
Then you speak half this up, away, water off a dog's back, move on. But in your mind, that black beast is playing those games with you.
Yeah. For me, it was hugely embarrassing, and then that would condition my self-worth, my identity for the rest of the week until I kind of prove myself in the next match. And if that doesn't happen,
that save, man, that you had done, I will never fucking forget that save. Till my dying breath. I said, how the hell does someone... I mean, this is... Forget local... I'm not creating a comparison here. But he was like 6 meters away from you. Full-blooded volley. And the guy he just flew. Now, okay, there could have been a bit of luck in it. I said, listen, I want to stick out a hand. But if you were De Gea, Gordon Banks, any of these top goalkeepers...
Alisson Becker.
Alisson Becker on his day, that's my proviso. You would have gone down in the annals of history as one of the greatest. You know the same?
I know the same, yeah.
Oh my God almighty.
In fact, I remember your comment right after.
I shared. I said, look what the fuck this guy managed to do. It was incredibly impressive.
He had a seriously great game against England too, didn't you?
Against England,
it was a really... I think probably... Would you say it was one of your best international games?
Yeah, it was one.
It was one.
And obviously the magnitude of,
the
Wembley Stadium.
And you know what?
All our family has travelled over. I mean, most of Malta has travelled over as well.
Yeah.
If you pick and choose, you prefer 9 shit games spanning the spectrum than having one pooper against England.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Did you get any attention from clubs after that game?
After that game, I had recently moved back to Malta from Greece, from the Greek Super League, and I had played some really good seasons in Greece. Yeah. Even in Cyprus the season before that. And then I came back to Malta. I found myself in a really difficult hole. Kind of like I wasn't accepting that I was back. I had 2 really young kids. Sabrina, my partner, she was kind of getting back into the groove of Malta. So for me, I signed a contract with Hibernians here. I remember I drove home in tears because for me, my career was kind of over. And soon after, there was this game of England. And the England game is where I decided to get into sports psychology. The reason being was because so much psychology went into that moment that, then I said, okay, there's something here and I need to explore it. But then after the game and after, there was a lot of interviews and all that. In my mind, I was saying, okay, this is the time now I've made it.
Yeah.
And I didn't make it.
Because there was nothing else beyond, right?
I remember Fulham came to scout me. The next month we played against Iceland, and they sent over a guy.
Were they in the Premier League at the time? Or?
They were in the Premier League at the time, and they sent over a guy who, I don't know, the game against Iceland I played really, really well. Really, really well. But one of the goals was a shot that hit the post, came off my back and went in. Not a goalkeeping error, but it was
one of those flukes.
So then when I got in touch with the guy who had originally contacted me, he said, listen, he said, my scout came back and he said that you had a horrible game.
Okay.
And I couldn't believe it and just left it as it was. So,
you know, it must have been nice to at least think that a Premier League club noticed you and came to see you. Success or failure, it was a step. Right?
I feel though that, I mean, my height is always going to be an issue.
How tall are you anyway?
I'm 6 foot.
And that's like small for a goalkeeper.
Yeah, for England, it's small.
Fabian Barthez was a fantastic keeper. He must have been
he was about 5'10", maybe
4'3".
He was married to that top model. I probably still is.
Evangelista.
Evangelista.
The price for fame.
Yeah, I remember when John Anarisa scored that cracker free kick against him. You remember?
Against Marseille?
Rocket, top corner.
With Man United.
Yeah.
He was with Man United.
But I will also remind you about one of the most amazing saves in the history of football.
This guy?
Along the same line. I would put them on in terms of the podium. It would probably be just millimetrically different.
Is this a Peter Schmeichel save or no?
No, it was a Barthez save. And you had that German playing in midfield. Hamann. Yeah. Look it up, and you will never believe that.
He was a great keeper, Barthez.
But he was smallish.
He was so reactive.
Top corner. He wouldn't have got there with and he went with this arm. Yeah, I can still picture the.
I don't remember it.
Look it up. It's incredible.
Barthez as well. Apart from the fact that he was great with his angles, he was super reactive, and with his feet he was fantastic.
There's a trade-off.
But
right?
he made some big boopers as well. Huh?
But don't we all?
Oh, it's my.
I scored in my own goal post. I
remember that. Oh my God! I don't know how you managed it. If someone had told you, listen, Hoggy, I'm going to give you €1 million if you manage to replicate what you did.
Yeah, never.
And I'm going to give you a whole week. You will never manage it.
No.
And obviously the shit that I got after about me being Mystery.
But let me tell you,
hold on.
You were losing, huh?
No, that goal made us losing.
Exactly.
But then we won 3-1.
Of course. Okay. That was a big...
Being the intelligent guy that I...
Thought you were.
That I thought I was. What could have been the positive that I took out of it?
The fact that your team came good and you won 3-1.
No. Back then, I played that kind of ball because I had zero confidence in my left foot. Zero confidence. So I played it with my right and I hit it so bad.
You remember this was?
We spoke about it on our first podcast.
On our first podcast, because we had Luke Demek on, we spoke about it. Wow.
It was as incredulous in my mind as his save.
As you said,
so
you could
his
never
save, I did this
again.
At that moment you did that.
And his own goal, I did this. They were the same thing, Beavis and Butthead, both going forward, spliff in hand. Right. Oh my God, what was that?
That's classic.
Amazing.
No, I want to ask you.
But then I really focusing on it, worked on my left foot, and
so it was a good mind.
Exactly.
You always take something out of a moment like that. You probably take more than something. Being a goalkeeper, there's a trade-off, right? Because you can be big and tall and less agile.
Yeah.
And you can be a bit smaller and more agile.
Absolutely.
So it can work both ways. We've seen it. But they always look, as you said, the traditional scout will look for
huge
height, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And reach more than height. Yeah.
I mean, look at Lisandro Martinez at the moment. He's like maybe 5'6". As a central defender, big no. But on the ground, he's always scurrying. So as long as he has someone tall by his side, so you have someone aerial, and you have someone who carpets.
Who can sweep, yeah.
Then you have a great combination. Synergism.
Synergism.
Something that was really good for me was I think in Malta, when I was playing in Malta, people fail to look at your assets, but prefer to look at your weaknesses.
But that's in everything,
everything. Hold on. When I went to Greece, and I was and also Cyprus, and I wasn't the tallest goalkeeper by far. Like, I was one of the shortest, actually, right? My coaches were all focused on, listen, Andrew, you're so fast. You're the fastest goalkeeper in this league. Use it. And then it creates another belief in you. And then, wow, man, I can get...
So you have a new dynamic.
Exactly. You start to believe in it. You start to work on your fast feet even more. Stuff like that.
Listen, we're speaking about getting scouted, you know, and reaching that pinnacle, that apex.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine how many players there are out there who span the field, who are probably as brilliant or even better than our existing present-day stars?
Absolutely.
And they never make it.
I want to jump on. I want to jump on this. So being a player who has gone to play abroad, you start to realize, and really you're humbled quickly at how many millions of players, right, are exactly like you. Everyone's fighting for that contract, right? And it's humbling, and it brings.
It's a reality check on life.
Yeah. But it's a beautiful one, and you say, okay, like I can either sink or swim, and let's go, kind of thing.
You love your game.
What really fucking annoys me are the prima donnas who spend their life playing in this little pond, right, of football here, and they walk around like they're God's gift to football, and it's just pathetic. It's
but the thing is,
it really annoys me.
The thing
and
is, they don't know because they haven't been exposed to how good, you know, how high up those rungs of the ladder people can actually achieve.
But you know what? Even for this small island, if you get a certain amount of attention, it's going to make you feel that way, right?
For sure.
And then it depends on your character, which way you're going to go. You're either going to become someone who's humble and wants to interact with the fans and all this sort of stuff, or you're going to become a prick.
Exactly.
Who thinks he's God's gift to everything or whatever and walks around with a chip on his shoulder and that sort of stuff. It goes either ways. It's character. But, you know, even people in my profession, I've seen both types. I've seen the humble ones like myself who engages and sort of stays on a level, and I've seen they think they're stars and become wankers, and you know I've seen it in DJs, radio presenters, TV people. You see it even for this island, you know. So it can happen in all professions. It's about, you know, getting that attention and how do you react to it, you know. You can only imagine it at a superstar level like Messi or Ronaldo.
But for example, let's grab yesterday's debacle, and it was the mother of all debacles.
Just for a second, we don't know when this episode will be released, but in case you don't, this is the day after Liverpool beat Man United 7-0.
7-0. Okay? But the game. The game will come and go.
Yeah.
But Fernandez's behavior,
disgusting, right?
will remain forever.
Disgusting. I can't stand
Especially within the light of the fact that he's captain. He has to carry the team. You know, you see Varane telling the players, go and applaud your away supporters.
I saw it.
And he's, on the 85th minute, he's shrugging his shoulders because Rashford is substituted instead of him and he wanted to leave the field of play.
Disgusting.
I mean, where the fuck are we going? As a captain,
which
makes it 10 times worse.
He should have never been captain to begin with.
No way, you know. I mean, if you list all the ins and outs of his game yesterday, or lack of, he pushes a linesman.
Yeah,
that alone, standing alone, could get him a red card.
He's a cheat. He's a baby.
He's a baby. He's puerile.
He's got
another one.
He's a what?
Puerile. Infantile.
You're coming out with some words today. We need a dictionary that actually exists.
I want to jump on this since we're talking about keepers. I have this belief that De Gea is 3 or 4 years past his sell-by date at United.
Look, it's not an observation which can be discarded, because at times he's been horrendous.
Yeah.
But then at times he's just incredibly agile and amazing.
But
as a shot stopper, I rate him as probably the best in the world.
Okay, but more than Becker, Alisson Becker.
As a shot stopper, I would rate him.
Yes, I would
but the rest of his game is poor.
He doesn't come for crosses. He's not great with his feet. Mentally, he's very soft.
Yes.
Mentally, he's very soft.
As soon as a mistake is enacted, the rest of his game probably is going to be poor. No, you can't.
John Hart told me not too long ago, right? He told me...
You still in contact with him?
Yeah, I am. He says to me, and he says, I don't play not to get blamed. I play to make a difference, right? We're talking about a certain situation where a goalkeeper made a mistake, right? Ultimately, if you're going to make a mistake and suddenly go into your shell and the game's over for you, then you're a Premier goalkeeper. You know, you're the highest paid player in the highest paid goalkeeper in the world. Don't tell me you can't handle this kind of pressure.
It's not necessarily proportionate, huh?
No, okay.
We've seen so many
Actually,
well-paid players
Hold on.
who aren't strong.
I'm sorry. I retract that. I shouldn't have said that. It's a mistake by me. But I expect more from him.
Listen,
And
Joe Hart at the pinnacle of his career was excellent.
I think that De Gea needs a new breath of fresh air. He needs to go somewhere else to regain that
Do you
excitement.
think he can though at this stage?
No, of course he can.
How old is he now?
It's
32?
Hoggy. He's 32. He's on 350,000 sterling a week. No one is going to pay
money. That's stupid money for any player.
But let me tell you,
player.
he was being touted. He was being groomed by Real Madrid. You remember the famous facts?
Yeah, of course.
Which didn't go through.
Yes.
So he might. I don't believe he's wily enough to have been able to play the situation. So I genuinely believe that there was authenticity to it. It was real.
Okay.
It wasn't engineered, if you will. And this massive contract landed on his lap, a 5-year contract. Now, if you had to sell him on or let him go for free, you need to replace him.
Yeah.
And a good keeper in this day and age is always going to cost you 40 million. I would say. I mean,
now?
Becker costs 80.
More.
75.
Yeah.
60,
So
65,
kind of damned
65.
if you do, damned if you
How much do you
don't.
think you're going to buy the keeper of Porto right now? Who apparently they're looking at.
Really?
Yeah.
Who's looking at Man United?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, I'm not in this scouting
Well, listen,
department, but
in this day and age, it disgusts me. Transfers are bullshit, gone ridiculous amounts. Unbelievable. Wages, ridiculous.
Crazy.
350,000 sterling a week.
I mean, grab Pogba, for example. Grab Pogba.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
he
what
went
a
on
waste of
for
money.
probably 400,000-500,000 a week. Now, he debuted for Juve last weekend.
Yeah.
His first game.
Did he get injured?
No, but let me tell you this. He was skiing last week. He was skiing under against medical supervision, and they were kind of semi-insistent that he undergoes an operation, which apparently is needed.
Right.
But he's been insubordinate towards it. He doesn't want this operation.
Surprise,
but he's good
yeah.
enough to go skiing. I can't understand the clubs these days. But you know what the moral
Player
to the story
power,
is?
man, yeah.
Player power. That's
Player
it,
power,
Oz.
yeah.
Player power. I'm old enough to remember, but in the 80s, once you've signed yourself off, you've sold your soul to the devil. You're done.
Yeah.
So you really need to be really, really careful with conditions.
Yeah.
But you could never run down a contract. In this day and age, it's a fad.
Oh, yeah.
A season left, I'm going to run it down. We'll bench you. I don't care, bench me. You know.
All about the money, baby.
It's the money.
It's just about the money, which sucks, right?
No.
It's not good for the game.
I mean, for the love of the game, I was watching a game. I was in Scotland, and they give these retro matches from 1974, Leighton Orient against someone else. I couldn't believe what I witnessed. So a linesman got injured, and obviously there was no backup linesman, no backup ref, no backup anything. Back then, you didn't have a substitute. You play with your original first 11. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
And the tackles were mad. No, it was just rolling on the floor, Neymar style. You're up, come on, keep on playing. Anyway, this linesman got injured. Some official comes out, one of these, the school. What are they?
Announcer.
Yeah. Guys, is there anyone you can actually hear
To
him?
the crowd.
Is there anyone over here who will run the line? Anyone who has linesman experience? This guy comes down, everyone's clapping him off. The linesman takes off his top.
Yeah.
The guy takes off, full view, puts it on, and he's running up and down the line wearing trousers and shoes.
Oh my God. That's pure football, man.
But can you
Pure
imagine?
football, yeah.
I mean, 40 years later, what? 5 substitutions at any one time. The wages back then were maybe a couple of hundred a week, if you're so lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, Bobby Charlton, he's an
Couple
icon,
of hundred
right?
a week. Pounds, right? Yeah.
Bobby Charlton, the most he ever made in a season, I stand to be correct, I think it's something close to 10,000. Bobby Charlton, he lived to 1958.
Yeah.
You know,
That
he's
was
one of the top scorers.
Yeah, there was a lot of money for those days. Right?
But in a season, Oz.
Still a lot of money for those days, you know? What was the average wage back then for a normal person?
I can't imagine it being close to 100 million, though. And that's how much these guys
Probably
earn.
not. But the game has come
Ronaldo,
the game has come a long way commercially speaking.
Yes,
as well, right?
there's pay-per-view
it's all
and this and
relative.
that
It's all
and everything.
relative,
I mean, Ronaldo, 174 million a season, 3-year contract.
It's disgusting me so much.
You know.
I think we should change topic because it's really annoying. It's really,
Let's come off on a tangent. What are we going to discuss?
We're going to discuss you a little bit. Okay, does that make you nervous?
Not at all.
Okay. Now I obviously met you. We're about the same age. How old are you?
No, older than yours.
Well, how old are you?
I am 54.
Yeah, you've got 5 years on me.
There you go.
49. So you would have, when I met you would have been about 20, 25, 26, and I would have been 21.
Thereabouts.
I know nothing of you before that time.
Okay.
I want to know a bit about Keith Marshall's upbringing, family life, parents, siblings, beatings, because that shit used to happen back then. I can tell you from experience. And, you know, school life. Give us a bit of insight into the early days of Keith Marshall.
Okay, so, as a youngster, and when I look back, I don't know if it's me or if it's the general impression when people look back and nostalgia kind of takes to flame. But I look back with the fondest of memories. And when you say, okay, they're kindled from what? On what basis? I had fishing and I had football.
Those were your two things?
My two things. You know, fishing and football were my gods. I would be yearning from Monday morning for the weekend to come over to juxtapose fishing and football. Fishing with my granddad, God rest his soul.
Cool.
And football wherever, this, that, here, there, you know. And there isn't really much, at least from where I'm standing, that I can say, is there anything in my life that I've yearned for so much across every stratum imaginable? So if you had to tell me, I'm going to take you to watch United and I'm going to give you a VIP box. Yeah.
That's where you're at?
Yeah. It's okay. You know? But, and it might be just a case of, it could have been age-related. But it's not an answer I can give you. So, brought up, I was given very good education at St. Edward's College.
Ma.
Right.
How nice.
Let me tell you, we had the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
So, from the sports angle, proficient. You know? Discipline, yeah, quite high up there. Academically...
What color were you?
I was in Campbell.
I was in Campbell too.
We were shit, man.
We were
so... We only won the tug of war. You would have been in Campbell as well if you weren't saying that.
Really?
All the monsters...
The rejects?
Oh, no. All the monsters for tug of war, we always got them all. And we could pull them just across the line with one arm.
No,
we had all the big
my
boys.
day we were good in sports, but shit in school.
Oh, let me tell you, academic. Well, let's not go there. But I don't really feel. Now, academically, I was always maybe top 3 in class. And
did you get your O levels and your A levels?
I did. I went to university, so tertiary education. I became a pharmacist.
Oh, that's right. I remember that shit. Yeah.
I gave a talk recently at St. Edward's, and my words. So the core essence to it all was a personal account. Of my view.
Of your time at the school?
No, of my view, life, and where it should take you. I think that many people, sad to say, we live on a hamster wheel. You know, and social expectancy is the call of the day. So if you're proficient academically, you remember Uchiha when we were young? So you get the baby and chuck 5 different things in front of that child. More or less... In adolescence, you're groomed along the same lines.
Where is that? I mean, as sweet as it is, it's stupid, right?
It's stupid.
It doesn't mean fucking nothing.
Even worse than that, and I really think that you're tempting the dogs of fate here. Is that thing that bread or loaf, whatever the fuck they do these days,
What?
They split it open. Or a cake or something. They split it. They actually invite people over. You split it open to see what sex. So the parents would
a gender reveal. Right?
Oh my god! I think it's so wrong, and the child hasn't been born yet.
Yeah.
It's mad.
Testing faith.
It's really testing. Anyway, let's go back to me.
Headache, man. That's
So,
gives me a headache.
Hold on. But that's totally a social media thing, you know. Like, look how perfect my life is.
Listen,
at me.
it's bullshit,
It totally
man.
is bullshit.
And it's wrong because I don't like when you say something or you tempt fate. You know, if, God forbid, something had to happen, I mean, where the fuck does it leave you? You know, where does it leave you?
Yeah.
I think it could be so impinging and so damaging psychologically. You know, why did we do it? And you're going to have a million questions thrown into your head that you can't answer. Yeah. You know, so stay away from these situations. Anyway, whatever. Back to St. Edward's.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, on this whole topic. I know it's a little bit hypocritical because I'm here doing a podcast, right? And I'm being as open as I want to be about myself, my life, whatever, that's fine. But this need for attention and sharing everything about your life with everybody, I don't fucking understand it, man. What's wrong with a little bit of privacy? What's wrong with a little bit of mystery? Why does everybody have to know everything about you? Instagram, fucking some of these useless pictures that you see of people's feet on a beach. And
but you know what?
Why?
We started off this conversation. Let people do whatever the fuck they want.
That's true. I just shouldn't watch.
You know what? I say. Let's tackle it from a different angle. So people are out there. You have your Instagram, you have your Twitter, you have your whatever, Tinder, Facebook. But then you try to play a privacy card when someone asks you something.
Yeah.
You either
it's double standard.
You run with the hares or hunt with the hounds.
Yeah.
You know, it's play on this side of the field or on the other side. You know, no man's land doesn't really exist, at least from my angle. But I'm completely not a private person. You know, so but
all the Edwardians have been like hanging in there waiting for this story now. So
look, St. Edward's, it was fun, and especially with me, we meet up regularly, the old boys. Were
you a naughty boy or
no?
A good boy. Yeah?
I was relatively one of the quieter ones. I don't think there was any particular great shake when it came to St. Edward's and any remarkable incidents. By and large, across the years, I spent probably about 12 years there. Then I came to leave because in my time, going to a government school at sixth form level gave you an extra 20 points. And there was the notorious numerus clausus, where you'd need to tank up on those points to be able to get into one of the courses that maybe were privileged above others.
Okay.
So it was a situation where you needed to feed the situation, even if it ran against your grain of thought, of mentality. So I spoke no Maltese. Nothing. Fuck all. My dad's Scottish, so we spoke in English at home. Right? Now it's no problem. But this is where I'm coming to. 7 of us left St. Edward's to go to sixth form. And I said, okay, by the law of numbers, that's... if I'm slightly lucky, one of these guys is going to end up as being one of my comrades in class. And I scanned the room. 1:13, I remember. I look around and I said, oh my God, I'm so fucked. You know? And I stuck myself at the back.
You're like 16, 17 years old at this stage, right?
17.
Yeah, it's a tough age too.
It is a tough age. But let me tell you as well, I was coming from a background where maybe a bit of arrogance reigned supreme. You know?
Yeah.
The richer stratum of society, and the kids knew it. They were done. Their future was more or less secured. There was a certain arrogance in the air. When I went to sixth form, they were all Maltese speaking, coming out of the Lyceum.
Yeah.
And when I sat down at the back, I said, oh my God, how the hell? It's going to be a Houdini act. How am I going to get out of this? And this guy by my side, he nudges me. And he said, and his nudge felt like an electric shock. I said, oh my God, and it's not a mistake. He's looking at me. And he said, hi, I'm James. And Maltese, James. Chismek. I said, okay, fair enough, easy, monosyllabic, Keith. Where are you from? Imsida. And then he asked me something which involved the construction of a sentence. I said, listen, man, I don't want to sound snobbish, but I can't speak Maltese. And instead of like shooting me down or, he was warm. I have to give him my very best regards because he taught me Maltese. 4 months it took.
Really?
So what I didn't manage in 17 years,
so
but this is where psychology comes in, This is where he could have shot me down. No, I said, listen, Jien nagħlmek il-Malti, imbasta inti tallimni l-Ingliż.
Yeah.
You know, so
sweet.
Very cool.
his approach was, he breathed fire into
Are
me.
you still in contact with James?
Yes.
Wow, cool.
And the guy, he was a farmer's son, but probably one of the top 20 best people I've met in the world. He was always so disciplined
That's
and
amazing.
so caring and so nice. And I said, man, very rarely have I seen this love. So we became friends. And I would stumble, I would stutter, I would fall everywhere language-wise. He always picked me up.
This is upbringing, eh? I mean,
But
do you feel that upbringing has really changed? Like the way we bring up our kids has really changed over the years, and now we lack that kind of empathy and warmness.
When you have evolution, it's regression or progression, and that in itself is very interpretational. Because the way I look upon a situation might not necessarily be yours, Hoggy. So, there's a bit of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But I believe, I really don't want to say that empathy is going out of the window, because it's the one thing that distinguishes us from lower species. The ability to love, to share kindred spirit, to be able to say, you know what, man, I'm going to be there by your side. And this thing that on a whim we can throw someone under a fucking bus.
Exactly, but how can we say that when in today's society, especially in Malta, our ideas of success are so monetized?
Because we're getting lost in rubbish. That's why.
Exactly.
And
so we are losing our sense of empathy.
Unfortunately, you can look upon life through rose-tinted lenses. You can look at through life in its true veracity, or you can look upon life with smoke and mirrors. And when it all becomes real, morbidly so, when you visit someone on his deathbed. Because I've done it, and I've done it many, many fucking times. And he looks in your face, and he says, why? And it's rhetoric, because he knows that I have an answer for him, and that the answer I can feed him is not sugarcoating anything. You had all the implements at hand, every tool you needed to enact change, or to run to this bucket list, or both. Because that's what we do when we come our modus operandi in charity. I will go and do this, and I'll probably go down on my knees, and on a bad day But I would much prefer saying, listen, I can build a team. We can grab people who have absolutely no background within the world of adventure and within the world of mountaineering or expedition formation. Grab that person, build a team, build a fundraising platform, build a school, and build children's lives. How easy is that equation? Now, when you have all the implements at hand to be able to be contributory, it's your obligation to do so. The sin doesn't lie in doing, Oz and Hog. The sin lies, at least from where I'm standing, in having been able to do it. You were blessed by the fact that you could, but you chose to turn a Nelson's eye. I was reading, there was this thing about Zidane, and he said, I was really sad one day when I realized I had no football boots. But then I saw the true depiction of life when I met a man who had no legs. So this is all relative. I took 17 people a couple of weeks back to Ethiopia to open the school. And I said, listen, guys, this is going to be a reality check on life. So what we take for granted, forget cars, because we're maybe upping the game. Water. Water. You see where you have no water in a tap.
It's we get caught up in the lives that have become us.
Yes, and we've inherited.
Yeah, and let me ask you a question, and this is for both of you. Do you think this is a problem that comes from education, both at home and in the classroom? Do you think that people have that humanity has lost its way in a certain way? We get caught. I mean, social media is a big problem because we see things every day on social media that just aren't fucking real. They're not real, right? It is
the pictorial, the depiction of a pretty picture. And that's something I'll bring up with you later on. But let me tell you this.
Actually, to bounce off, that's one thing I wanted to ask you is, so you work in a lot of charities, right? And obviously there are a lot of people ready to help out. But how often do you feel that to be totally genuine, as opposed to them doing it for their own egotism?
Andrew, you'll never know. So we have a call and we start getting people who are coming on board. So let's analyze the possibilities. The person's intentions are absolutely real, noble and honourable. One perfect case scenario. People who maybe possibly have fallen out of that loop, you know, and they've maybe lost their way in life, maybe socially they're a bit inept, and they need that kickstart.
Yeah.
There are those people who want to get away from the present life that they live. So it's a perfect
escapism.
It's escapism. To be honest, you might come with one intention and leave with the other.
But from your perspective, it doesn't matter why they come, does it?
It does. Let me tell you why.
In what sense, yeah.
Let me tell you why. For example, I have these people, and I tell them, listen, we have a minimum amount of money that we need to collect per person. This person will get a sugar daddy or some person to sponsor his or her minimum fundraising. First week of us being together, we're together for 8 months, and then they collect nothing else. You have lost complete identity of where we should be going. You're not identifying with the situation. You know, you need to suffer. You need to
grind. Yeah.
You know, you need to grind it down.
But it was you once who said that I don't know where I saw this. You said, I would sell my soul to the devil as long as I can make a situation better. Something along those lines.
Well, maybe selling your soul to the devil is a bit much. But I'm not one.
But am I correct that you said something along those lines?
I'm quite Machiavellian. As in the end, can, within the bounds of my conscience, sometimes the end can justify the means. Now, I'm not saying create something which is completely harlequin, something which is completely obtuse to the line of society to help some kids, because in that way, in Maltese they say, "Et tibni ħajt u tot ieħor." But I think we get lost in the way forward and how best to ameliorate the way forward. I think it's so easy for everyone to step forward and do something, to be contributory.
Why don't they, do you think?
Apathy. Lack of self-belief. So, for example, I mean, and a lot is down to circumstance, luck, and who you meet in life. So, for example, Marco Cremona, he's obviously one of our most famous alpinists in Malta. And I knew him from like 20 years before he joined Kilimanjaro through football. He spent years and years and years and years. Back then, 2004, when we came to create our team to engage in Kilimanjaro for the first time. So we started training in 2003. We had no social media. So you either call, you know, and even back then calling was a bit pricey as well. You either call or you message. Or you go and knock.
Yeah.
That's it. I called him probably maybe 6 times. And I would share to confidenza because we had 20 years of roots. I don't think it was within his aptitude to even consider climbing a mountain. After Kilimanjaro, he became one of our most famous mountaineers in Malta.
Wow.
You know, so sometimes you cross paths, you know, other people, you give them or you try to create the best possible way forward. And now after 20 years of doing this, many of the pitfalls we can avoid. So they are privileged by the fact that we have know-how that we can share.
Sure.
You know, just like when we used to organize parties, let's not go down that road, it's very dangerous.
Yeah.
Why? Because I know I've been down that road and I got shafted. So don't do it. You know, experience. There is value in experience.
Yep.
But
people get stuck, right, as well. But, like, I can say it from my own perspective. The last 20 years feels like you mentioned the wheel. Feels like I've been stuck in there because of commitments, children, family, bills. You can get, it's very, very easy to get sucked into all of this, into this, whatever you want to call it, black hole of life.
As well, one thing you didn't mention, Oz, is the safety zone.
Yeah.
So within
That's
your
true.
bounds of insularity, you might not be completely happy and completely satisfied, but it pays the bills and it keeps you safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when I was speaking to the guys at St. Edward's, so this is one of my tattoos, okay? It's a square peg in a round hole.
Okay.
And this is the one I hold closest to my heart. So many people live this life.
Yeah.
And I told these kids, now when you're handling kids who are aged from 6 to 15, you need to be able to put them all on the same page. Tough stuff. I said, guys, create, life is going to give you a pen or a set of crayons and a copybook. Draw your own story. Don't let someone else grab these, take them out of your grasp and create it for you.
Yeah.
And
It's
unfortunately,
an important message, right? It's an important message.
I think it's one of the fundamental, and I can speak from my angle. I became a pharmacist, but it wasn't really inside me.
By design, right?
Sometimes it's that conveyor belt.
Yeah.
So I got to the age of 13. And I said, what am I going to study? Sciences, there's my inclination. Physics, chemistry, biology.
Was it pushed into your mind, though?
I think it's a bit subconscious. There's a bit of brainwashing along the years.
There's a lot of pressure still to this day.
I think it's worse these days.
From parents and family to lead someone down a path. And I think it's wrong because it happened with myself. My mother was convinced her whole life from, I don't know, probably one thing I did on one Sunday once in my life that I was going to be an architect. And she basically...
She force-fed it to you.
Manipulation is a strong word, but she manipulated me my whole life into that direction. I did 1.5 years. Every bit of study I did leading up to that was to become an architect, right? I did 1.5 years of architecture and I fucking hated it. Absolutely hated it. So in reality, the years leading up to that moment where I said, I'm quitting university, were wasted because I was doing something that someone else had designed.
But let me tell you, you were brave enough to call it quits after 1.5 years.
Yeah.
How many people go through all of this?
Sure.
So they ran the gauntlet, tertiary education in a course that they don't really care about.
Yeah.
You end up, and I used to deal with many doctors in my time when I was working as a medical rep. And obviously with time, you garner a certain familiarity. So you'd be able to honor them with an honest opinion. I said, Dot, m'intix content? You're not happy, man. He said, yes, Keith, you're right. But it pays my bills.
I was really lucky in this instance because my parents were very much, I'm younger than you guys, but not much younger than you guys.
Don't rub it in.
And a lot of my friends went down the line of doctor, accountant, whatever. I'm the only one who went on to become a footballer. My mind was always there. My parents never, they wanted me to study, but it wasn't that, Like,
you weren't force-fed?
I wasn't, no, I wasn't. Maybe the fact that I was...
Look, I don't have kids. Well, I know of. But I always said that if I had to go down that road, if I had to have a child... The one thing I would never do is, in any way, form, or manner, compromise his or her outcome.
Yeah.
Let that child design his or her life.
Yeah. So I have
musician,
to, right?
whatever it takes.
But it's
hold on.
very quick. It's hard because they have to make school choices, right? They are forced at the age of 13 or 14 to start choosing a path.
But that is why at 13 they should have counselors, where you actually sit down one-on-one. That obviously that person has to be very competent, very proficient to be able, and it probably over a set of meetups.
Keith, they don't need counselors. They need to scrap what they're doing now and keep school general until they hit fucking 18 years old. Generic, not choices. Generic. They need to keep it like that until they're 18 years old. And they need to teach them things that they'll fucking use in life.
Pharmacy, 90% of what I learned in pharmacy, I've never touched. I mean, stuff... Like some plant which is used as a cough suppressant in the South Pacific. Who gives a shit? Give me stuff I'm going to be using here and now in the Mediterranean.
I mean, like, honestly, every time I receive my FS3s, I'm like, okay, what do I do with this?
Yeah.
Stuff like
life
that.
skills, right? They teach us nothing.
And how to do, and social civics as well.
Even
ethics.
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 Dealing with pressure and difficult situations, the anxieties that we don't teach these things. And what happens?
And
hold on. And what happens? People don't know how to deal with these situations. They go through moments where that they can't control. They end up in prison, let's say.
Of course, you can't grab a duck, and teach that duck to climb trees. You need to see the strengths, the ins and outs of a person, and garner those gifts, those qualities. I mean, I don't know how many young adolescents I've met. You know anything about first aid? No.
Yeah.
Like you ask them, do you know anything about Egyptian hieroglyphics? That to me is a preemptive.
But do you know when I was growing up in Australia, that was compulsory first aid?
But it makes sense.
It really makes sense.
Imagine anything can happen on the drop of a coin.
We had to choose one of carpentry, metalwork, and there was another one I can't remember.
Oh, that's probably.
We had to choose one.
Theatre.
I did carpentry. I still have a desk I made back in 1987.
Standard stuff. You've been sitting on it.
I missed my calling. I should have been a fucking carpenter. I would have made millions.
You would have done well in this
I would have done well. Oh mate, they're in high demand.
We're talking before, and so I got two little girls, right? They go to church school. I am in the shit box right now.
Lucky you.
True.
You're in the shit of the kids or of the church school?
No, the church school. Basically, they call us every so often, stressed out because they're shitting Maltese, right? And there's this whole hassle because, we sit with them, we give them our time, right? But they're not going to go to private lessons. They have other fortes that I want them to explore, their creativity.
Of course.
Right? They're both, to a certain extent, dyslexic. Oh my God, big deal. Big deal. Like, what do you expect us to do more? Right?
But you know what? This all stems. Let's go. Let's return to where this thing our first port of call. Why is it so important that academia takes center stage across almost everyone? So if, for example, someone wants to become a panel beater, because that's his love, that's her love. She wants to go down that road. Why do we need to actually almost force this situation upon someone? And I always promise myself, if I had to have a child, it's the one thing I wouldn't do. And some people are simply, they don't... Academics isn't their thing.
We talked.
I mean, someone comes home from school scared shitless to show his or her
test result. Yeah.
The results. It's okay. I mean, I remember.
And then we talk about fear of failure. Where does that come from? From these moments.
Exactly. And the cognitive years, they design your life.
Absolutely.
You know something, and this for me is the biggest problem. Since the birth of social media, the biggest problem is that people are not experiencing things anymore. They're constantly like this, right? So they're not experiencing anything. You've got kids growing up who have no fucking idea what they want to do because they've never tried anything.
But social interaction is so limited these days.
That's the problem. That's a big part of it.
It's you facing a screen, a laptop, or whatever it is, a mobile, a desktop.
I deal with all the teenagers at the association, right? All the young guys. I tell them, like, how do you speak to a girl?
They're in a bubble.
They're in a bubble. They don't know.
But look how ironic it is. So when I was a kid, I'd wash my mother's car, go shopping, and this, I'd be sucking up to her all day. So she opens the door and lets me out with her blessings for 3 hours of Caribbean Indians, football, this, that, catching lizards, building bonfires, whatever. In this day and age, we've inverted it's a paradigm shift completely.
Yeah.
They're happy to be on YouTube and this and
Never
living up to all their electronic heroes. And when you're actually out there, in the great outdoors, and that's why I love taking people, as you've been with me.
Yeah. I love them, by the way. I miss them.
Exactly. Primevally, we're made to be in nature. So, once again, trying to fit subconsciously a square peg into a round hole. And we try to do it every day. So, concrete buildings, asphalt flooring, very limited vegetation around us. Possibly more than many other countries that could entertain this psyche, this mindset.
Yeah.
So, I think there's an obligation to our mental health to get out there and to actually engage in what primevally we were built, engineered to do, to be living in the great outdoors.
And doesn't this need to start in the school setup? Shouldn't they get them out of the classrooms,
150,000%,
and out into nature? That would be amazing, right? Admittedly, it is limited, but you can maybe educate us a bit, Keith, on what there is out there here in Malta, because I am 100% sure there's a bunch of people who have no clue what nature is here.
Look, and I tell this when we first start off trekking. There's an induction phase where people's eye-to-foot coordination is so poor that anything beyond something topographically even, I'm not saying it's a danger zone, but you need to be careful. So you take them out, they start finding their feet, pardon the pun, and then you can actually start introducing them to the shoreline. 90% of the people we take out haven't borne witness to 90% of the places we take them. In Malta, and Gozo, rocks, pebbles in the Mediterranean. They have no knowledge of anything which happens around our shoreline. It has its limitations. But can you imagine this statement within the bounds of Madeira, Las Palmas, or any other major Mediterranean island?
Yeah.
Look, there are situations where, the famous cliched expression that when you find your holy grail, you'll never work another day in your life. This is what I love doing. So pharmacy, okay, it's a means to an end. You get paid. Yeah. But square peg, round hole.
Has doing philanthropic work paid for you though? Because it's a give sort of situation, right? Not a take.
Look, for 20 years of my life, it was just give. But I did it part-time juggling. So when we set up...
What other stuff did you do, though, in the meantime?
Oh, my God almighty. Look, when you're young, you're so effervescent, so brimming with energy, even now, so that can you imagine 30 years? So I used to sell sunglasses, branded sunglasses. I was a medical rep. I was working in a pharmacy. I touched on every form of pharmacy, which is available out there: industrial pharmacy, commercial pharmacy. I worked in all the polyclinics, all the Berech, all the hospitals in Malta.
Wow.
But it was just juxtaposing this, a bit of this, a bit of that. And for 20 years, philanthropy was a sideline. But a sideline that I embraced. When I could actually entertain a situation where I could get paid for what I do and actually create a foundation, which after I'm gone, and this is the realization that everyone should actually sit down and think. The alpha we know. We're here. Where's the omega? We don't know. When does the Grim Reaper come knocking? But I always said, I'll do what I can, where I can, for who I can. I'll try to instill this in all the people that we come across throughout the sands of time. You win some, you lose some, but it's okay. Lose a battle, win the war, blah, blah. But with time, I think if we had to create a foundation which could be self-propagatory, not dependent on Keith Marshall or Austin Kaki or whoever, anyone in the background, then that's where my legacy lies. Your legacy can't die with your last breath. You need to create a scenario such that if you have time to actually reminisce over the fact that you're going to be gone in the next week, 2, 3 months, couple of months, I say, you know what, I could have fucked up there, and And I lost on the swings, but I won on those roundabouts.
And in addition to this, right, you talk about ikigai, right? Can you explain it a bit and maybe explain why it's so important for people to have ikigai?
Because so you have the pillars in Japanese philosophy, and you need to enjoy what you do. You need to be good at it. You need to make money from it, but you should also be proper and beneficial to society. And once again, to revisit our conversation 15 minutes ago, you get these people who had everything. They were hugely successful on it. But then they're hit by the stark reality that you can't escape fate. And everyone has a bullet with your name on it.
Oh, well.
You know? When does it leave the chamber? We don't fucking know. But what we do know is that one day that Grim Reaper is going to be polishing it and preparing it for its final release.
Yeah.
You know? We live under the supposition, and it's one of the biggest misconceptions I think that we can embrace, and we do it often, that life is open-ended. You know, and when you're young, maybe you're a bit bulletproof and you're cocky and you're arrogant. You're, as if I'm going to get sick. No one gets sick. Old people get sick. That's so wrong. And if it is limited, say, for the sake of argument, to a certain stratum, you don't go from here, oh my God, I really need to hurry up now. You evolve within the world of giving, philanthropy, meaningfulness. You know, ultimately, we know we're not going to change the world. We know we can't do everything for everyone. But I'm rather sure that everyone can do something for someone.
Yeah.
So if we pass this forward and we use this as our mantra, you know, our ethos, can you imagine the strength of 8 or 9 billion people? Decimate it and grab 3 billion people who are in a position of privilege. Shouldn't we all put I'm not saying our best foot forward, because that's, even if you just dissect the word philanthropy, voluntary service. You give as much as you want.
Yeah.
But don't give nothing. Give something. Now, many roads lead to Rome. You know, it's not a case of, I have to be good at this. If I'm not good at this, I can't do this. Remove the blinkers and the tunnel visionness and see the amplitude of life for what it offers. Some people can offer money. Some people can offer, I don't know, even sitting down with someone over a coffee. Someone who's lonely, has got the fucking no one to speak to. You know?
Yeah.
And then, you know what I can't understand? We get all this paganism setting in. Good Friday, don't eat meat. Who the fuck gives a shit whether I eat meat or not on Good Friday? You know? People don't even know where it's rooted from. It's rooted from the fact that meat in bygone days was only homed by the rich and privileged. So you'd grab the money that you would save on the meat and give it to the poor. We don't do that. It's not even advocated. It's used as an excuse. Okay, so you can go out on Friday, not take that ribeye, but you can take a lobster instead. I mean, how pagan is that?
So that's sorry to not know the rule, but that's the rule, that you can eat fish, but you can't eat red meat. What is it? Red meat? Chicken? Can you have chicken?
No. You can't have any form of meat.
But seafood is meat. It's just
But you know what? If this rooted from centuries ago, I have no problem with that. But for God's sake, evolve. Tell people, listen, this stemmed from the fact, this whole story I just gave, you know? But put it on the plate of the people. Pardon the pun again. But put it on that person's plate. Okay, you're going to do a sacrifice, save the money. I would much, from where I'm standing at least, I would rather say, you know what? 40 days of Lent, I'm going to call one person who I know is lonely every day and spend 15 minutes on the phone with that person.
It's more meaningful, yeah.
I mean, I sit down on telethons and this kind of stuff. And it's so heartbreaking, man, for me. You get this old woman and you know that she's humbly poor.
Yeah, I'm lonely, yeah.
Mister, important tamel 30 seconds oħra miegħi. Can you stay on the phone for an extra 30 seconds? I have no one to speak to.
Wow, that's sad.
You know?
And is this part of the reason why you organize the treks and stuff like that, to I don't know, maybe help a bit with regards to this
100%.
loneliness?
I would never want to address my people as being lonely. They address that within themselves. But if we can give a sense of purpose, a sense of worth to someone who never believed that he or she could tackle a mountain, fundraise, and be a contributor to a project, then my job is done.
Yeah.
Now, if I can repeat this modus operandi 150 times over, I want to repeat it 151.
Before you came on, I was telling us, I said, I need to apologize to Keith because every time that I try to come on a trek with you,
But yes, listen, shit happens, things happen, it's okay. Look.
He must be worried about his fitness, you know, that must be.
I'm sure he's really fit still.
But-
it never leaves you, huh? Yeah. You can put on weight, I'm not saying he has, but you can put on weight. But muscle memory is a beautiful thing. But my point is this. Different people, different strokes. There are certain people who have approached with Kilimanjaro, massively obese. You know, there was this guy said, listen, I'm going to make sure, we're going to give you the best shot to take up this mountain, to make sure that you see Uhuru Peak, you see the summit. But you're going to be mine for the next year. Now, if you tell me you can't take the strain, I'll shake your hand, I'll smile, and you leave. We part ways. But if you want success, you need to be willing to bite down, man. You know, success doesn't necessarily, it could fall on your face, but often it involves strive. You need to strive, you need to put tons of effort in. This guy in particular, he lost 50 kilos in a year. He made it, he broke himself, but he saw summit.
Just from trekking and dieting? Or what?
Dieting. I was on him like white on rice, huh? I was always hunting him down. What did you eat today? Don't lie to me, look in my eyes. But you know, he would take the strain, and for that I removed my hat and I genuflect in front of the guy because he had a mission and he made it through. So that's the kind of...
Maybe that's what I need, man.
Listen, Oz, we've had this conversation before.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
You know, sometimes tough love is the order of the day. And sometimes...
Even a purpose, right?
But let me tell you, sometimes some people are fragile. You know, they're made of china. You know, raise your voice, blah, blah, blah. And they leave. And I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
We're not on the same wavelength. And it's okay. You know, you're seeing orange, I'm seeing red, you might be seeing a bit of black, I'm seeing charcoal. We're not there.
Yeah.
You know, we can converge. But if people choose to obscure reality and lose vision and focus of the end cause, where we intend getting together as a team, that's a problem. You know, I tell them, I said, listen, we don't like each other. It's amply clear. But we need to love that cause. So for as long as you and I are pulling on the same rope and vying in the direction of that cause, we don't need to like each other. We can tolerate each other.
Sure.
For as long as it's not detrimental towards the cause. When that cause starts coming in, we're roping this in and it becomes an opacity, you know, then it becomes a problem. And you can imagine, I mean, Kilimanjaro alone, 220 people we train to get to the top. Yeah. So we choose our partner, knowingly in full cognitive function of where we're going, who we're going with, and what we expect from this place. And it doesn't work out. So can you imagine 20 people from all different social strata, different walks of life, different philosophies, different ideologies, and you're trying to make this shit work? But it's the cause.
Yeah.
If you can grab that cause and sit and say, I feel like burning this person. But you know what? He or she can be good for the cause.
Sure.
And it's okay. We're not expected to like each other, or at least not everyone is expected to like everyone in life. But then there's levels of tolerance, you know, and it's okay.
Yep. Listen, Bud, we like to get towards the end of the podcast by discussing, it's something that's really important to me and also to Andrew in a sense as well, mental health.
Yeah.
I've always known you as a bit of a madman. I don't know if you've had any exposure to mental health, if you've had any mental health problems over the years. Can you give us some insight into your world when it comes to mental health? I mean, really and truly, mental health has only become a spectrum in the past, 10, 15 years, a bit more?
Look, let me start from here. I don't believe that that's a situation. I mean, I will shoot down many situations, but when it comes to mental health, someone would really need to have been involved in it, experienced it, or you can actually focus on where you came from to have a valid, conscientious opinion. You know?
Which you don't have?
I personally do not have. I've been graced by this. But latching on to what you said, it's a tabooed and it's been a stigmatized subject. You know why? Because people would rather latch on to the successful and the person who is suffering. And this is where I think that what you did, you know me, Oz, I don't bullshit people.
I know.
I'm too old man to bullshit people. But when you had surfaced and it wasn't even a surprise for me. I said, man, this guy, to actually humble himself, you know, and just put himself out there, scrutiny, scorn, possible praise. But it took so much, I think, for you to be able to just say, you know what, man, for the good of society, and to be able to destigmatize and maybe to buffer down that taboo.
Yeah.
I'm going to put myself out there.
It was a big moment for me.
But you know what? Let's look upon the situation from a different angle. The easiest thing in the world would have been for you to hide it from everyone. You know, keep it within the bounds of that safety zone, the insular, that's being safe in insularity. But that in itself is, I think it's your legacy as well.
I hope it will be. I mean, I've repeated this line a number of times when discussing this about myself. When I decided to come out, and that's really what it is, so I can really understand what gay people go through. I can understand what.
So there's a liberation element as
absolutely, well. Absolutely, there's 100%. I didn't do it for that reason, although I did think it would help my journey. But I said to myself, I remember all the years I suffered in silence. And I'm telling you, I suffered a lot. I was so good at masking it. I mean, not many people knew what was actually the turmoil that was actually going on inside me. But it was hard. It was really many years of hard suffering. And when I decided to come out and talk about it, I said to myself, if I can help one person, if I can make one person feel that they are not alone in their struggle,
that is brilliant.
I've done my job.
That is fucking brilliant.
I like to think I've helped more than one.
Let me ask you something.
Sure.
Does it get better?
Mental health?
Or is it always that monkey on your shoulder?
It's always there.
It's always there.
It's always there.
It's always gnawing away. But maybe you start learning your coping mechanisms.
There are tools. You work at it, right? It's one of those things. You have to understand it from a physical point of view. It's a brain injury. Simple as that, right? So anybody who suffers from mental health, it's a chemical restructure in your brain that forms over a series of years. In terms of, there's PTSD and there's also I have complex PTSD, which is basically the exposure to trauma over a long period of time. Then you have PTSD, which is one big hit, one big trauma, right? So you have a lot of mental health struggles come from PTSD, some sort of exposure to trauma during your childhood. Where was I going with this? Because I lost.
Let me tell you, the big picture is this. However, when you have a person who is of a certain celebrity status, who fans that flame, listen, you're not alone.
Yeah.
You know, I've been there. Me, Oz. You know.
Yeah.
And there was Frank recently who surfaced as well.
I messaged him. Yeah.
I think it's so important that many more people come forward. You know. When you see the increase in prevalence in suicides in Malta, it's quite alarming.
And the reason is because they suffer in silence.
Exactly.
That's the whole
They're
reason.
bottled up
Yeah.
for 100 different reasons, and one day they snap. You know, and they say, I can't live like this anymore. I think that life, but once again, it's really unfair of me giving my I think life is so beautiful. I would never want to look upon that cup being half empty. I'm the eternal optimist. And in our line, you kind of have to always grasp onto hope. But
the problem that you get from persons like myself is that you are so deep in the rabbit hole, it is almost impossible to pull yourself out. So it is not a matter of want or will. You just can't.
You just can't.
You just can't.
That's why I asked you the question before.
You're literally in a certain way. You are disabled.
You're in a labyrinth.
You can't. You just can't. Yeah. It's almost impossible. And I'm better these days. This is going back to what the question was, because then I remembered it. And I'll be honest with you, I am no longer as sharp as I used to be because I'm on certain medications that help me, and it's great in a way that I don't have massive panic or anxiety attacks anymore. I don't have bad thoughts, and all these things are sort of on the side, thankfully, but it does affect my sharpness and my memory and all these sort of things. But going back to what your question was, is it always there? Is it a monkey on your back? The answer is yes. If you manage to find clarity and a good space for a long period of time, that can really retrain your brain.
Yeah.
And rewire the chemicals and the what do you call them? The neuroplasticity in your brain. It can happen. But it is so hard to achieve that, especially if your trauma has been deep and over a long period of time.
When it's protracted.
I always advocate, it's so important for it to be found
fledgling
quickly. The longer it drags on, the harder it is to recover yourself. And that is why I really think, and I don't know if this is going to be ever possible, but there should be some kind of mandatory screening in schools, not in a direct shameful way. There would be a psychologist looking out for the signs, and when the signs are there, we discuss it and we try and find a solution so it doesn't get worse. And this is something I really would love to see happen in schools. The reason it doesn't, because the stigma's still there. I don't want my kids not
we need to break the stigma, and as well the compelling factors or possibility of that can do. And in this day and age, bullying, for example, you don't go home, you close the door on bullying, you have these fucking mobiles and shit like that. I see messages, screenshots from one child to another. I would say, if that child had to be my child, who was bullied. I mean, they're not normal.
Yeah, the trauma has lasting effects.
And they're horrible cases of bullying. The words that they use. These are 10-year-olds. Oh my God. And then you hear about the 13-year-old who commits suicide.
Yeah. They're exposed to social media, and then there's the lack of parenting, because I'll say this, and I don't altogether blame parents, because it's a tough job. Parenting is a tough job, and it's tiring. And there are times when I'm sure a parent, and kids are hard, and they push back hard. And I'm sure there are a lot of parents who just say, fuck it, I give up. Here's your mobile. Get lost in it. And it's not right, but I understand it because I've been there myself. And there are times I don't allow it all. I mean, my kids do what they want now. My son's 18 anyway. My daughter bullies me. She's such a strong character. It's just the way it is. But I try to at least they have to do their sport.
Yeah.
My daughter does her basketball 3-4 times a week. My son does his rugby 3-4 times a week. They have to go out with their friends. They have to do this. And then the rest of the time, it's out of my control. You know what I mean? But this is a huge part of the problem, is that they are stuck in these fucking worlds that a kid would have never spoke like that 25 years ago.
No way.
They weren't exposed to it. Number two, they would get a clip around the ears or a belt or
But the thing is, in this day and age, I mean, there's the entitlement issue, which we all know about, but there's also the fact that rules have been put in place where physical reprimand is not on the agenda.
Yeah.
It's not allowed. And sometimes...
How many times did you experience the cane at St. Edward's?
Actually, once.
Once?
Once. I only experienced it once as a Prep 6 student.
It was the fish kind of thing?
The fish.
I never...
I never got the fairness.
Was it open hand? What was it?
No, it was a...
No, but you got the punishment was on your hand, or where was
No, my ass. Thing is, we had shorts, you remember? We had shorts. Your shorts are pulled up, and you're given six of the best.
Yeah.
But you know what? We would take it in our stride. You know, and from an angle, it toughens you up as well.
Do you want me to tell you a caning story?
Go for it.
So, I was a pretty... I was a naughty. I was really naughty.
Not a bully, though?
No, not at all. Not at all. Just getting into trouble all the time. I would act out because of all the shit that was going on at home. And so I got in trouble, I think, for a fight at school. And the principal called me into his office, and it was a long bamboo stick. And back then, it wasn't on your ass, it was open hand. So he would come and give you 6 whacks on the open hand, right? So after the first 2, I looked at him and I giggled. Biggest mistake of my life.
Oh, for sure.
The next 2...
You opened the gates to hell.
The next 2, he put his shoulder, back, legs, triceps, everything into the swing. And then, for the last 2, he told me, flip your hand over. And the last, I had bleeding knuckles, I had everything, man. It rightfully deserved.
But you know what, in this day and age, you'd end up in jail.
Yeah. Do you know how many times my kids have come, you know how many times my kids have come and told me, I'll report you to the school?
Seriously?
Yeah.
There's a number these days, you knew that.
They teach it in school.
I think it's 151, where you can actually report your parents.
But there's no...
for reprimand.
They're telling the kids this without context. They're saying if something is bad is happening at home,
exactly.
Then you call.
It can't be on a whim.
But what does bad mean? That they deny you from using your mobile?
No, it can't be interpretation. And listen,
exactly.
It has to be a serious affair.
You know.
But once again, if you groom kids in this direction, that on a whim, on a stupid remark even, they can use this number. There's obviously going to be a very wide chasm between the parents and parenting
of course.
And the said kids.
Of course.
Maybe I'm old school, but we got physically reprimanded. So beyond all the gatings and et al, blah blah blah, there were physical reprimands.
Of course.
You know, being pulled by your hair, by your ears, and this swung around.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think that helped you in forming your character?
Of course it did.
It did, right? I 100% agree with it.
100%. You know, I mean, what are parents there for? You know, just as providers. No. Well, I've been entrusted with you as one of your overseers for the next 18 years of life. You know?
What kids, I don't know if you'll agree, but what kids lack these days is an understanding of consequence.
Consequence is zero. Repercussions don't exist. Bad. If you do this, you're going to get this. It's like smell color. They can't.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
And obviously you'll get the scientists and these behavioral psychologists or whatever who will they'll rebut these situations. But when I see, and yes, I do train people who are youngish as well, and some of them are very nice, but what you brought up was this lack of consequence, you know, and lack of repercussions for actions, misdeeds. They don't exist. They don't exist.
Yep. And we experience it in wider society.
Okay, listen, we have to get towards the end part of this thing. And I asked you to prepare some stuff. Did you do it?
No, I didn't do anything.
Well, you're going to have to do it on the fly, right?
I'll go on.
Okay, so the first thing we ask is, first of all, I asked you to prepare one question that might have
I didn't even get the time right, Oz.
No, you didn't. But that's Keith Marshall style.
But let me tell you, we've been juggling with the time to make sure that we could all meet, as I said, on a focal point, time-wise, for 3 weeks.
That's true, yeah.
Anyway, whatever.
So, I asked you to prepare one question for both of us that maybe you wanted to know, were interested in knowing.
Look, a question I would have. It's not really a question. It's a rhetoric, but
that's not.
But it's been answered.
Okay.
The fact that how tough was it for you to come out? I think is a big word, a big phrase, but it's been answered. So the fact that you did what you did, against all odds and completely embracing the possibility of all the risks and all the nonsense that our modern day society is plagued by, you know. But to repeat and to go down very recent memory lane, I remove my hat, man, to you.
Thank you, thank you.
You know,
the hardest part of the decision was not repercussions to me, but to my family.
I think it's. I think they're not. It's not mutual. I think it's everything, man. It's an en bloc deal. Because even from your angle, you know, black beasts form in our head. What if? Well, you know, the fear of this, the fear of this. How am I going to be judged? You know, is it going to be balanced off? Are people going to send me to Coventry and just say, you know what, I had such a completely different impression of the man? I think what you did was bravery on legs.
Thank you.
For that,
Thank you, thank you. You got a question for this guy? Think of something. You can do it, man.
Look. So I've been
when it starts with look.
No. Listen, I've been following Andrew's journey, and obviously we know how successful he was on the football front. But when you changed tack, you didn't come off at a tangent. Was it something? Sports psychology that had been festering your mind for years, or was it something? Okay, I'm nearing the end of my career. Where do I go from here?
So,
Good question, huh?
so for through my formative years and also through my career, I always had the kind of notion in my mind that, but you're going to continue being the stupid footballer or the less intelligent footballer.
So you had already preemptively started creating your plan B?
Not until we left Greece with 2 very young kids and came back to Malta.
And you were at what age?
I was 31.
So it wasn't even the twilight of your career. There were still a number of years left.
Exactly. And when I came back, basically I had a bit of existential crisis, right? I really had this belief that I was only good to play football, kind of thing. And then I dug a bit deeper. You know, my sister's a psychologist, a psychotherapist, and we had long, deep conversations. And then ultimately, I said, okay, with the experience that I've amassed over time, right? How can I use this in a way to help people?
But that's dough, eh? Because if it was something, if you had reached a crisis point right at the end of your career, and it was a knee-jerk reaction. Okay, what can I do now? Fuck, I can't do anything.
Yeah.
You know? But the fact that you were groomed into it for the next 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah, 6 years.
6 years. That was cool, huh? That's dope, man.
Yeah,
it's
the right way to do it. That's
the right way to do it.
It's the right way to do it.
And then so the ikigai, the meaning, right, for me was all about helping people, helping young athletes. I believe that even as a leader in a football team, I was never that leader who was, you know, the extroverted, shouting and all that. I was quite introverted, but I always had that eye to kind of understand where people are struggling, you know, the arm around the shoulder kind of leader I was. I was the guy always in the dressing room standing up for the players' rights when we're not paid for X amount of months and all that. I was the guy who used to get the shit. So I always had that kind of meaning in my life where I wanted to say...
you could be contributory to the...
Exactly. I want to make certain changes.
To the cell.
The start of this podcast as well, you know, Oz and I had a really interesting conversation once. It was just a catch up, and I said, hey, like, you know, you've passed through this, I'm in this, like, I think we could really help people if we start to tell these stories and have these conversations, you know. Anyway, over time I went to university, I got my degrees, got my masters, was offered to start working with the MFA as the mental performance coach. I've done that for the past 2 years, and I
have you found your holy grail, your Valhalla? Would you say that, wow, this is something I will swap, I will exchange for nothing?
No. I still believe there's a lot more to me. I still believe that there's a lot more that I can give. Sometimes I am stuck with, okay, what's next? Like, what's more?
Then there are the limitations of being immortal as well. Because I think Malta bottlenecks certain capabilities and certain potential as well. You know, I mean,
sure.
on 100 different strata.
It's happened
You
for
know?
all of us here, I think.
Exactly.
I mean, you with your football career, me with my entertainment career, you know.
I mean, imagine us in our heyday, you being the DJ you were, and me being the organizer I was.
How
And
big-
you multiply it demographically
That's it. That's all it's
50-fold.
about. Yeah.
Instead of having 3,000 people, you have 150,000 people.
Exactly.
You know, a small Glastonbury.
I looked at, there are certain times where, and it's not something that I look back fondly at, but I would look at people like Chris Moyles, who I think, honestly, and this, maybe it's my ego, I don't know, I don't think of myself as being egotistical, but I thought the product that Jay and I had was tenfold better than what he had, more entertaining, you know, and this guy was making $5 million a year, you know, and I was going check to check, you know, so...
Even in the world of football. You know, grab our top footballers.
Same thing.
You know, Bozu, Michael Mifsud, they plied their trade abroad and blah 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 blah. As Maltese players, you're meant to be subservient to the situation, and you'd get paid nothing compared to, you know, people, singers. I mean, rappers, you know, our queen, our pop queen. I mean, amongst many others, she's in her head, even now, humongously talented.
She is.
You know, but...
And humongously popular.
Yes, but once again, you know, a big fish in a very small pond. If she demographics, if she was Korean or Chinese or British or American, she would have flooded everywhere, you know.
Yeah, she would
but
be
that's
hugely successful.
Unfortunately, that's the island we're living in.
That's where we're at, man. So, the last thing we do on the show,
Go on,
is, because you didn't read my message, obviously, and prepare anything, you son of a bitch.
Okay. Guilty, busted.
There you go. We like to recommend each of us, one either book, podcast episode, or TV series that we would like to recommend to the people listening to this podcast. Do you have one?
I don't watch series.
Okay. Do you read books?
I used to be an avid reader, actually, and I'd probably podcast forget it.
So what do you do? Like just masturbate all day? Or?
I don't really have much time, Towers, at the moment.
I mean, you don't relax. I believe that.
Let me tell you, but my relaxing, I take groups out. I don't know 4 or 5 times a week. My relaxing is there, actually. You know, but
you don't get like downtime, so to speak.
I'd probably prefer watching some football on TV.
Yeah.
I do.
He doesn't like
yesterday's football, my God almighty.
We didn't really touch
Jesus.
on that much, but I'm
you
being
know what?
nice
1-0 down half time, 3 clear chances.
But do you love like watching Roy Keane post match comments?
You know,
he's so right.
But he's one of the people. I don't believe in these drama queens as pundits. He is straight to the point. He's very clinical. He's almost surgical, Keane. You know, he's not all gesticulations and hands, blah, blah. Like Neville, positively it irritates me. Both as a player and as a pundit. But him and Carragher together, you know, they managed to pull it off. But beyond all the post-match and pre-match drama, I actually enjoy a good game of footy. And it doesn't even have to be top teams, as long as the football being expressed.
So that's your go-to when you have an opportunity.
When I have an opportunity, when an opportunity beckons, that's what I do. More often than not.
You're quite a socialite too, right?
Let me tell you, I used to be a social butterfly. You know, everyone fucking knows this. But in this day and age, I mean, can you imagine all these guys coming? You know, Tupkal, all these people. They're all organizing fundraisers, you know, and they're all, beyond that. Then they also create a social calendar for all the people who are involved in trekking. And they must think I'm the strangest motherfucker in the world. Because I never go and I never attend anything. You know, I just... Probably I won so much on the swings. Just to rebut the situation to yin yan it, I need to lose so much on the roundabouts. I'm not saying I'm a complete social hermit. But I love downtime. I know it's going to sound strange. I love being alone.
But what do you do when you're alone?
I think a lot. Much of what we do was logistics and stuff like this. It happens in here. You know, creating timelines, pitfalls. How do you avoid them? How do you anticipate a pitfall? Because sometimes a pitfall is so far down the line. You say, how the fuck did you think that out? Because I think.
I'm not quite sure all this time for you to think is a healthy thing, though, is it?
Let me tell you, trekking, I think.
That's probably where you release, right? Yeah,
but it's so therapeutic.
Yeah. So
we have 2 majorly good treks, but someday we're going to go to. And the west coast of Gozo, which basically is from the boat, from the ferry. You go to Shat Lahmar, Imjarishini, Tachen, Sanap, Shlendi. You're exposed to the northwest wind, the maestral. So if it rains, and especially if it starts gusting, it's a horrible trek. But yesterday was picture perfect.
Nice.
A cold wind, sunny day, and we had 15 minutes of rain just before we hit the restaurant in Shlendi.
Nice.
Magnificent, It's the equivalent of me traveling, probably.
Shall we commit to going to one together with it?
Listen, guys, you don't need to commit to anything. Think it out. Yeah. Just give me a call.
Well, I mean, I've done it a bunch of times with you, and I enjoy it every single time.
But let me tell you, I don't think you need to be held to your word. Wake up. You know what? Saturday, tomorrow, I'm not really busy. It's man. Tomorrow, Shanamlu. You give me a call. We're a message away. You stand up. Bob's our uncle.
You can create one anyway, right? If you're not doing one.
Of course I can. I created one with you. Oh my God, he fell 3 times. And one of the tumbles was hard. I said, oh, fuck, man.
But come on, I was quite graceful going down.
Let me tell you, you were. It was a top trek. Huh?
It was great.
And you know what? I could feel such good chemistry, good energy.
Yeah.
When we did the one, I'm actually doing on Thursday morning. So on Thursday, I'm meeting 5 guys. It's not open to the whole groups, so just 5 guys chosen. A couple of them are a bit unfit, so we do the same one. Jnaina to Fombiri, back to Santi Imjar, and then a Fenkat on Imjar.
Nice. Sounds like
top.
Fun. Sounds like
So
no book, podcast episode, or TV series.
No
for
book
Mr.
I can
Marshall.
give you.
What book?
Yeah, go for it.
Book I will probably go with, and there's a bit of a morbid background to this. I'll go with Desert Flower, which is the autobiography of Wari, maybe Idris, her name. She lived a very nomadic lifestyle in the Somalian desert.
Okay.
And at the age of 5, and this is where it came home, and it struck a massively horrible fucking chord in my head. At the age of 5, she had to undergo forcibly female genital mutilation. Without going into the merits of this, she underwent it, and her description was, as I saw the...
It's graphical, very graphical.
It's graphical, but I saw it in front of me in Ethiopia once.
Oh, wow.
And this child, whatever, she was 15, she died, she bled out in front of me. And there was nothing we could do. And I wanted to kill her husband-to-be. I seriously wanted to fucking execute him. I was so angry. But then when you calm down and you start thinking and looking upon the perspective through this guy's eyes, it's monkey see, monkey do. We're made to abhor cockroaches because since from childbirth, a cockroach is a horrible thing, but a prawn is something... somewhat of a delicacy. Yeah. It's ingrained in our mind.
Yeah.
So I told myself, what would it take for a person to hate a woman's genital anatomy to the point that he would want to obstruct her pleasure, her future, through this barbaric surgical, semi-surgical, pseudo-surgical intervention. So I read it off the book, and I saw it in real life. And it didn't really sit well in my head. Anyway, this girl, at 5, she went undergoing it. At 12, her dad forced her, her dad preempted forcing her to marry a 60-year-old in exchange for 5 camels.
Wow.
And she decided, with the consent of her mother, to run away. She crossed the Somalian desert, faced a tiger, a lion. So you can imagine, she left with nothing as contingency. No water, no food, nothing. She made it to Mogadishu. By a twist of events, ended up being house help in the Somalian ambassador's residence in London. Spent 4 years there. Another twist of events, end up in McDonald's. And 2 years before she started working in McDonald's, and this is where luck maybe favors the brave. Because sometimes things happen incredibly magically beyond your comfort zone. So at 16, from the age of 13 to 16, an aunt of hers died, so she was asked to take her child to school, to a public school. Taking this child to a public school, she met this guy with long hair, bunched up in a ponytail, and he always tried to make conversation. She being, number one, non-English speaking, so there's also that level of apprehension. She held back for 2 years. And one day he gave her a card, his card, and he was a famous photographer. He recognized the beauty in her face.
Wow.
And long story made short, he turned her into a supermodel across the globe.
Wow.
And she ended up advocating for human rights at United Nations level.
Desert flower, right?
Desert fucking flower, man. There's a book and there's a film, and they're equally brilliant.
Wow.
Obviously, I left loads of details out, but you know what? The lessons to be learnt. You can take it as far as you want, or you can try to take it as far as you want, but if you miss 100% of all the shots you don't take, you know, Gorski or something like that, I think he was some famous American footballer.
Michael Jordan.
I don't think it was Jordan. Some Gorski or Gerski, something like that.
Wayne Gretzky?
Gretzky.
Ice hockey player, yeah.
Ice hockey, there you go. So if you don't take your chance, now, the easiest thing for her to do would fall back onto what she knew, which was very little, marry a 60-year-old who was probably, he had as much life as a plant, but her father said, listen, he's old, he's not going to hassle you, you just take care of him and he'll take care of you financially. And the mindset would have been, yes, you know, because my dad's saying this.
Sure.
She broke all taboos, made it to England, and made it to the international stage.
That's crazy.
You know, so, you know, you can...
After not being able to recommend something and then you recommend that, that's a
Set
pretty
your
huge
own
leap.
limits in life, you know? Set your own limits.
But
Okay.
now because his was so good.
Yeah, should we not even do it?
No, I'm going to flip mine.
Okay.
Have you seen the movie Swimmers?
No, I heard it. I heard about it.
So
They're from the Middle East or something,
So
right?
when I was living in Greece, I was living on the island of Lesbos, and in 2015 to 16 in Greece, well, there was the economic crisis, and there was a lot of shit going down with the Greeks themselves. But also, there were the Syrians who were escaping Syria, crossing through Turkey, and landing up literally on our shoreline in Lesbos, with on the dinghies and literally not even 50 meters from our house, you know. And I remember the drive into the city center every day was literally heartbreaking. All you see is popped dinghies
Poverty.
and the life jackets and kids, old nanit in summer, you know, like walking in with nothing, trying to, you know, they have to start a new life. And basically the swimmer movie is all about their struggle and about these two girls who, two sisters, one made it to the Olympics, and the other sister who still, well, is currently in prison in Lesbos, because she was doing the humanitarian, you know, when she's on the boat and trying to help the
Like
people in
Greenpeace?
trouble.
And
Yeah.
she was taken in.
And she was taken in for
Wow.
smuggling.
Okay.
You know,
Sounds interesting.
I'll
I think
watch
it's
this if
it's
I
on
get if I
Netflix.
get the opportunity.
yes, it's on Netflix, but I have my own, you know, the videos that I used to take. I mean, Sabrina, we used to be there in our home. Our home used to be well heated, and we're seeing kids come across at 2nd of December, I don't know, -2 degrees and
Yeah.
madness, you
It's
know.
hard, isn't it? It's
And
hard.
the outcome is only determined by the twist of a friendly or unfriendly card. Who the hell can stand up and say, listen, we deserve our outcome in life because we did some X, Y, Z, 1, 2, 3, ABC.
Sure.
We did nothing. You know, it was just destiny. So when I visit these places, and I say, my God, this child could be my child. You know, this person suffering from polio and, I mean, I've seen people who have been mangled by leprosy, mangled beyond belief. I said, we're living in such a protected, such an insulated society where all our social benefits and all our mechanisms are in place such that no one is left behind, or relatively speaking, no one's left behind. Over there, everyone is dumped under the bus. You know, just on accord. Iara, I have an ace. Iara, I have a 4. You're gonna have to live with it.
Yeah. Crazy stuff.
And yours?
Mine. I recently got onto a series that's on National Geographic called Genius. Have you seen it?
No.
So they have 3 seasons. The first one is about Albert Einstein. I didn't know jack all about him before I watched this series. Really, really good watch. The second season is about Picasso, but it's done in, it's not in a documentary style. It's in a feature series style. For example, the guy who played Einstein was Jeffrey Rush.
Okay.
The guy who played Picasso was Antonio Banderas.
Okay.
So really good cast, really good production. In
Jeffrey
fact,
Rush always takes part in these historical whatever.
He's great.
He's great. He is
He's a great actor. They're both great actors. And actually, season 2, the Picasso part of it was filmed here in Malta, which is really great. But really educational and good viewing at the same time. So you get to understand what made these guys geniuses, and also sort of how it all developed, right?
And you learn all the background.
You learn everything. It was really, really great. And season 3, which I've just started, is Aretha Franklin.
No, that's interesting.
Really good. So
Well, actually, all 3 are interesting.
amazing.
They all stand. They all hold their ground.
And how many people say, we all know who Einstein is, but do we really?
No, nothing.
Right?
No.
So
Nothing.
this really gives great insight into, his life. And Einstein was great, but I actually thought Picasso was even more interesting.
For as long as it's not formulated with a hyper dose of poetic license, if you will.
Well,
I mean, we watched the Titanic.
Yeah.
Jack and this and
it's TV after all, right?
You need to carry it up. You need to make it interesting. You need to flavor it up.
Absolutely. But I think if you take the context of what's in there, that's where you learn.
The denomination is it's there.
And both were geniuses, really and truly. You had said it, mentioned it many times. They chose their own path and didn't care what anybody said. Nobody.
Picasso died in the early 70s, right?
73, I think. 73, something like that. He was 91,
One of the few artists back then who didn't die penniless. He was actually wealthy when he died.
He was filthy rich when he died. Yeah, he was filthy rich for a majority of his life because he became successful in the early to mid 20s, really successful, and it was almost immediate that his painting started selling for mad money. So it's a really interesting story. So I would definitely recommend those.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to do the last thing, the toolkit.
Yep.
We're going to do it quickly though, because I think this has been our longest podcast so far. For I don't know what the reason is.
We always knew this was going to be the outcome.
So we like to recommend, Keith, something we use in what we call our toolkit. That let me try to. I've written it down. It's explained much better here. So it's one thing that makes your life better, healthier, more productive, and more successful. In your case, what would you?
One word which will encompass all of this.
One thing, one action, one habit.
So, for example, my toolkit today, right? And it's something that a lot of people know about, but maybe not done as much, and we haven't mentioned it yet. Neither of us have mentioned it yet throughout the episodes. But really simply journaling, right? First thing in the morning, chucking all my thoughts down on paper, making sense of what I'm thinking and maybe the issues that are coming up, making a plan, stuff like that. But the fact that I'm putting it down on paper really gives me a better direction.
Look, I wouldn't do any of this, but I do jot down the same ethos and the same mantra from the very first second I blink in the morning. Meaningfulness and belief. And it's unerring. I would never want this mantra in my mind, the fact that we can affect change because based on what we believe in, I would never want this to change. So if I could change anything about me, that's the one thing I would preserve forever, because it is I would say, well, let's speak about me, because within this context I'm the guy sitting at this podcast. I would have myself believe that all the people who back us up have one common denomination: the belief that we can make a difference. And it's all you need to spare you forward.
But we are looking for an action here.
An action.
So I could even answer it for you.
But everything webs from here. Trekking and
trekking is the one, right? It gives you peace
But the
of mind.
fuel to it.
Yeah.
Because some people say this. I mean, saying, how do you manage? In the summer, we wake up at 4:30 every day. You know, we meet at 5:05, 5:10. We start off at 15 minutes past 5. Almost every day. Because it's a very short training stint from May to September for the Camino September. So it has to be very, very productive within that 3 months. So it's no longer a case of meeting when I see you or meeting twice on the weekend. It's almost daily.
Yeah.
If you don't have this belief fueling your purpose and taking you forward, I think, I'm feeling really cool. The 99 excuses not to get your ass out of bed or off your sofa, because that's where I sleep, on my sofa, I think it'll take you down.
Yeah.
So that's your most basic and important denomination. Belief, which will spur you on to trekking. That's your word.
Very good, mate. I sort of have related to something. Mine is something I've just only related to recently since I got my motorcycle license, and that is just riding my motorcycle. It's a scooter. It's a big scooter. But anyway, I made it sound like it's some fucking Harley Davidson. It's absolutely not that. Like I'm riding a hog. It's not that. But it's the time that, because, you know, you are there. There's no mobile phone. There's no radio. There's no nothing. It's just you in your helmet, listening to the sound of the wind coming up on your helmet, concentrating on the road. You're not thinking about anything else. It is literally 30 minutes of peace.
But let me tell you, as I can so easily see this as being an induction phase onto bigger and heavier things, huh?
As in what, motorcycles?
Of course, so
I'm pretty sure that will happen.
and
yes.
you know, it so fits into now. Bikes and motor don't really get along too well, but if there's one person who I could stereotypically fit into that kind of an image, it's you on a Harley, man. Or at least you on a muscle bike.
I'm going to take that as a compliment.
For sure, no. But let me tell you, bikes, I don't know. I love them. I really love bikes.
Yeah.
But I think you're dancing with death, man, and motor.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
it's crazy on the
Over
streets.
the past weeks, so many times have I been stuck in traffic. I remember this week, I went from Ta'ali to Slima to pick up my kid and back. It took me over an hour and a half, an hour, 45 minutes stuck in traffic and stuff. And I was swearing to myself that I'm going to buy a bike in the next couple of days. But then I say to myself, two
In
kids
my
at home,
house,
buy
I
a
have 2
bike.
young kids, Andrew, come, you know.
No, but hold on a second.
in fact, I
And it's a numbers game. Somewhere down the line, someone will make a mistake. You'll make a mistake, or the road will make a mistake on you.
No, but if you are attentive, if you ride like you're supposed to ride, you, for the most part, should be fine. An accident can happen. But if you get into an accident at 50 kilometers an hour, it's very different than getting into an accident at 120 kilometers an hour. And that's the difference. Now, yes, you can get hurt. It's true. We all take risks in life. However, if you ride as you're supposed to, if you pay attention
Yes, but you're not-
to everything around you.
But you're not only dependent on yourself as well, Oz.
But yes, you are, because if you are looking out for what may come,
What if
you will
someone?
see it.
What if you find a patch of diesel on the floor,
That's the one thing that can get you.
or a pothole,
Well, potholes you
or
can see.
someone
Potholes you should see.
someone runs a light or a stop sign,
But
and
you should be at cross sections. You should be looking for that to happen. I can see everything before it's going to happen.
let me tell
But
you,
listen.
Except if it's
Hold
coming
on,
from
hold on,
behind.
hold on. But we all have off days, and we
Yeah.
all have days where
Exactly.
we make mistakes.
we're
Right.
human, you know.
So I get Keith's point.
And you,
Yes, but if you have an accident, I mean, unless it's head on, if you come off your bike at 50, 60 kilometers an hour, you're going to tumble a bit, you're going to hurt yourself, you might hit a wall, but not at 120 miles an hour, and you might get an injury.
let me tell you, in Maltese we have an expression: "Il jarra jaya sejra tixxaqqa." It's a numbers game.
You love
If
it.
you told me, listen, drive across Malta, me as a non-driver, and one off or once a week for 2 months, I'll do it. But doing it every day for the rest of my life, somewhere down the line, something will fuck up.
I don't know. I can tell you this much. There has been
It's fun for sure.
There has been tens, hundreds, thousands, millions of motorcycle riders who have gone their whole life riding motorcycles and they're still here. Okay, so I think it's a numbers game, whatever vehicle you're in. You can be in a car and a truck comes and hits you and you're dead.
You know what else is very cool about the truckers, the bikers clan. Their kindred spirits meeting up on Sunday. That's really great, fun, I'm sure. And you know what? Once you're there amongst them, you're a friend. You know? Yeah. It's a one massive family, which is cool. Be safe, please.
I will. If you're a cyclist, you're not going to stop cycling because it's dangerous. Right? You just do it. You just take care and you do it. Anything in life, everything is dangerous if you do it badly or if you're not paying attention.
Listen.
So I will be safe. The bullet.
When it wants to find you, you can run, but you're not going to hide.
Last question.
So, you remember the movie Man on Fire?
Of course I remember. Denzel
Washington.
The bullet never lies.
Top movie.
You came into tattoos late in life, didn't you?
Yeah.
Recently, right? How long ago?
Oh, maybe 4 years ago. But let me tell you, it wasn't a newfound desire. I always wanted to.
Yeah.
But because of circumstance, I mean, can you imagine? I used to visit so many doctors on a very frequent basis. Now, even though I had long hair, you remember me, I'd gel my hair, smart, a suit. You'd get doctors.
You used to be good looking, man.
Thank you. Doctors with a certain confidence, they say, listen, Keith, it's about time you trimmed your hair. So can you imagine me going inked over?
Yeah.
And from an angle, it is a bit of liberation, living the life I wanted to live.
Yeah.
You know, but another thing about my tattoos, it's not a case of beauty, it's a case of meaningfulness.
Yeah, me too.
So they all have value. If you had to tell me, listen, I'm going to send you abroad to the most famous tattoo artist in the world, and he's going to create a beautiful design for you.
Yeah.
But it's not you. You know, it's his design. I tell him, keep it. I don't want it on my body. I want stuff.
Yeah.
And everything. I mean, how many United supporters do you know who can flaunt a Liverpool tattoo?
Well, man.
You know?
Wow.
Because that's meaningful. And when I tell my friends United supporters, they kill me every fucking time.
But what is it? I don't have my glasses. Is that for Hillsborough? What is it?
Hillsborough.
Wow.
You know? Okay, Justice for the 97 now.
Yeah, 97, yeah.
But if you look into it, if you look in the depth behind sport, isn't it meant to conjoin? Isn't it meant to bring people together? So I got our 1958 tragedy, Munich, okay, and Hillsborough.
Nice, man.
On both sides. You know, people would look upon this as being a musical symbol, but they're actually, it's an epitaph, if you will, in ink, to a friend of mine who died at 18 in a car crash.
Oh, wow.
I had bought him a pair of shoes. I paid for a deposit for a pair of basketball boots with all these musical symbols.
That's true.
And he died and he was buried in them 2 months later.
Wow.
So these, to the naked eye, you know, to the ignorant, not stupid, to the ignorant eye, which has been musical symbols. But for the minimum, I watch one. I have loads. This is Sigma Foundation. This is my first charity, reaching out. This is Scotland, so we have a unicorn. Well, anyway.
You know something, Keith?
The lion rampant. Yeah.
Underneath your madness, you're a beautiful soul, my friend. Thank you very much for joining us, buddy.
Thank you, Keith.
It's always a pleasure, guys.
You're a good man. Thanks, bud.
It was amazing.
The content of this podcast is intended for general informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of a qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. The information provided on this podcast is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or medical condition. The views and opinions expressed by guests on this podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the podcast host or producer. If you are experiencing a medical emergency, please call 112 or seek immediate medical attention.